Hi, I'm Angified. I started Angified Presents.
We share the love of music.
It has been medicine and therapy. Nothing else worked.
It has saved many of us. With mental health, we need to open our eyes.
Hurt people hurt people.
We ask that you listen, comprehend, and relate with your ears.
Form that heart of unity and one.
We share on this stage.
Statistics, feelings.
And ourselves.
We stand with the belief to be you, to be heard, and to be original.
We all may be different, with opinions and beliefs.
At the end of the day, we are all brothers and sisters.
We are family.
We ask that you join us in a magical journey with artists from around the world. Open your minds, let in the love,
and listen with your hearts.
We all want a better tomorrow. Be one.
Communicate and look out for one another. And then, and only then, will you find the world.
We will find peace in all the world.
You'll find the world. And you will find in this shining world. He was among us in every boy and girl. Many have been broken, red hearts turn black. Love will melt the ice and turn it back, and you will find the world. You will find the world. You will find the world. And when you find a place called home, where everyone is free to roam, a whole new world, a better place for our children's futures at stake. And you'll find, with music in your soul, laughter in your hearts, together we can grow a better place, with love in us all. And you will find, together we can save it all. And you will find a place called home, where everyone is free to roam, a better place, a whole new world.
talking about it all every Thursday night. From software to plugins and synths that entice. Dive deep into tech and let creativity take flight. Talkin Shhh I.T. We're talking Shhh I.T. Come and join in and have some fun. It's highly educational with a lot to learn. From bedroom producers to seasoned pros, we're breaking it down so knowledge grows. Whether you're a DJ or a beat making wizard, we got the tips and tricks to make your sound sizzle. Mixing and mastering, that's our jam. With the tutorials and tips on how much rev. Get the best quality from your setup and gear. Tune in every week and lend us your ear. We're talking Shhh I.T. Come and join in and have some fun. It's highly educational with a lot to learn. We're talking Shhh. We're talking Shhh I.T. We're talking Shhh I.T. Every Thursday night on Angified.
How's it going? Thursday night, once again.
I'm coming, Len.
He's there.
Coming.
We know he's here somewhere. We just have to find him sometimes.
I'm still learning.
Hey, sometimes it's too busy and it takes an extra few minutes to get where we're going, but we always get here in the end, and that's the important thing.
Yeah, a little slow on the uploads tonight, but we're here.
Yep, we're here with everybody, and it's Thursday. And what are we going to look at tonight? We've got several things cooking.
Yes, tonight's theme is guitars, mixing gear, and something weird.
Something weird.
Oh, you're gonna like some of the weird things.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm a fan.
Here, let's jump to the IT cave. We're late, but we're here.
There we are.
And we're ready to look at some gear. You know, like the last month, our feed just keeps getting more and more cool new 2025 toys, and
Yep.
it's hard to ignore some of these ones that I'm coming across. You remember those Apple glasses that we looked at back in the VR night? I'm starting to see these like actual glasses that are coming in and giving us screens inside our glasses. And Cat and Cherry XR, we actually found this channel when we were doing our VR night, and their reviews on gear like this so awesome. And she's going to be checking out this pair of glasses that $700. That's in my like go-to range for something like this.
Yeah, and that's instead of a big screen. So yeah.
Well, it's better than $3,000 for the Apple.
Yeah, and they should continue coming down over time. I mean, as technology improves, these sorts of things, that's the way those trends go.
Yeah, when these hit the $200-300 range, when they're equivalent to like the cost of a phone or a laptop, now we'll be talking.
Yeah, I mean, the 3,000 price range, that's like the early adopters, right? Like some people are getting in at that range, the people who have to have it, like the day it comes out. But, then there's a more reasonable, uptake after that. The more reasonable people are starting to grab it as well. And then, when the price comes really down, though, then it's mass adoption. That's when you get to that point.
Yes, that's critical mass. And I love my MIDI guitars. So anytime I see something new, and this one's coming from Yamaha, which could be a toy or could be something useful. Yamaha tends to do both, but I'm curious as to this new Easy AG that they just came out with, and it kind of looks like an acoustic. But it's not.
No, it's got something going on right there for sure.
Yeah. So, for the guitarists out there who might want to get into MIDI, it's possible this might be a contender. The way he titles it, the weird MIDI guitar synth you might actually want.
What's funny is what those, it looks like buttons all over the neck right there.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of something I saw in the past, which was a device to clamp on. It wasn't a MIDI thing, but it was a device to clamp on for chords. So like you could hit a button and it'll do the claw for like the G chord or the C chord or the A chord. Like, so we talk about how guitar chords, a lot of times it's a certain claw that you can just move around the neck and get all the different, all the different notes, but you got a major and a minor and whatever. So you just had a little thing that clamped on that had buttons like that. But this is for something else, I'm thinking.
Well, and if you are a guitarist and you want to get better with the claw, the next one, and I was, this is new to me, this neck, but I figured you might have seen it in the past, because it takes a different kind of neck marking approach that is almost like a keyboard.
What I can say is, just glancing at it, the one line that you see that's a line straight across the neck, we would call that the pentatonic equator. Like usually, like that's the 12th fret also, where you're at the octave. But if it were a pentatonic scale that you were looking at across the entire neck, there's one spot where there's a straight line of notes where you play every single note on that one fret. And then there are certain notes you play, above and below that make it a pentatonic scale. So it could be, that's what that looks like right there. So it looks like right above that is the minor pentatonic. So we'll take a look. But yeah, that's likely what that is.
So it's possible it's pentatonic friendly for all you fancy guitarists.
Sure.
Yeah. So this is a freshie channel, Suki's Cirillo's Lead Guitar Workshop. So I found us a guitar workshop channel.
Nice. I like it.
And to shift more towards like the mixing side, I love Zoom mixers. There's a couple of them I've been really eyeing as a upgrade on my mixing side, but this one is so tiny, and if it has the same like Zoom quality that their other mixers have, USB ready, this is the kind that you can throw in the laptop bag. And I see 4 line inputs, 2 hybrids with the Zoom mic preamps.
Yep. 2 outs, or 2.
Yeah. This is an interesting mini mixer.
I like it.
With a lot of options. The Live Track L6.
Sweet.
Yeah, this one's coming from the Midlife Synthesist. I also found a synthesis channel.
One thing I will say about anything that's got knobs like that going in a laptop bag is have a good, container for it. Like even if it's a Tupperware or something that's, just a little bit bigger than it, something that can protect it, because you don't want those knobs getting knocked off on a bag.
Yeah, and I bet you Zoom gives you a carrying case.
Yeah, exactly.
When it's small like that, throwing in the carrying case is just gravy.
Yeah, some of the devices like, little DI boxes and whatnot that have no knobs on them, for example, those can just, you throw them in, no problem. You could have them all stacked up in the bag together. But you start throwing things in that have knobs on, that's when you start breaking knobs off.
And you always got to check the knobs afterwards to make sure they're where you want them to be.
Yep. That's why people I know like put little stickers or corners of stickers to point at certain spots on the knobs so that you know exactly where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and after we look at the mixer, and something I keep suggesting, a lot of these guitarists and singers who just want to get their stuff into the DAW, they're going with audio interfaces. And to me, having a mixer along with an audio interface solves my problem of getting ASO music out of Cakewalk into my mixer, into Zoom. When it comes to a good music machine, having both of these is better than having one of these.
Oh yeah. And that one, the one in the image right there on the left is very similar to the one that I'm using right now, except mine is the 402. That's probably the 802.
You have the analog version, which
exactly.
Luder. The reason why I like this one is because it's exactly what he's using, and he's got the USB one and the analog one, and I keep trying to get him to get that USB one set up properly in Zoom. So this was specifically to look at getting your audio interface, routing through a good digital mixer, and using both of them to make music.
Very cool. Nice.
And to finish off, slide to some mixing, and I do want to get some more mixing topics in over the next couple of months. This one's coming from a professional who, over time, there's certain things he doesn't do anymore. Like, when you're first starting out
Mhm.
and you tend to do things like that you first learn being an engineer, but
Mhm.
as you do them and your workflow improves,
Yeah. That's the main
yeah,
thing is the workflow improvement and the wisdom that you acquire as you do the stuff. That's the difference.
yeah, and there are some things that you will do different as you evolve as a mixer.
Mhm.
The
Yep.
offshore audio is going to be giving us that one.
Nice. Yeah, things that, as you do the process every time, it's like, why do we do this before that? Because it seems like this makes more sense or whatever. Like things you streamline and things just, get into a workflow, as you mentioned, that just makes more sense by the time, a couple of years down the road. If you look back at where you started, you might say, hey, it seemed silly when we did things this way back then, but, we, adjusted because we discovered that it was better to do it this way.
Well, yeah, you eventually learn like it's better to do these tracks first and then
Right.
these tracks afterwards. And when it
Yep.
comes to effects change, it's better to have
Yeah.
this effect first and then this effect. And those are the things you learn through trial and error,
Mhm.
a little bit of tutorials, and
Well, even the bus mixing that you
watching
talk about.
IT once in a
Yeah.
while.
Even the bus mixing that you talk about, to do all the reverbs on, one bus to the reverb rather than having a reverb on every channel set to whatever settings, just because, I just tuned into that one channel, put a reverb on it and started tweaking dials until it sounded really cool. And then went down the line and did that on every channel and then listened to the whole thing. And all of a sudden it's all crazy.
Yeah, and I
That's what
wouldn't
would
be
happen.
surprised if some of his adjustments were like consolidation and
Yeah.
equipment efficiency.
Yeah, exactly. All good stuff.
So, to start off, we're gonna wear our sunglasses at night,
All right.
and these come with a wide screen. To me, like the idea of like being able to like lay down in bed, pop these on,
Mhm.
and enjoy a theatric like experience. Um, I might pay $700 for that convenience. It's like getting a TV,
Yeah.
except for your eyes.
Exactly. And again, that's something that, I've been waiting for a long time, for the technology to mature for these. I first tried like VR headset back. I mean, I don't even want to say how long ago, but it was, decades ago. And since that day, I was like, we got to get to the point where we can just put on, a pair of sunglasses essentially and have a good screen right there.
Yeah, and what I'm curious with these, uh, uh, the way Cass and Cherry are reviewing it,
Mhm.
they're gonna test it in like, watching a movie situation,
Mhm.
playing games.
Nice. Yep.
Like I'm curious how well it is as like a VR goggle as I
Mhm.
am a giant screen for my eyes.
Exactly. And I would love to see the gaming aspect as well.
Yeah, and these two do great reviews. It's at Cass and Cherry over on YouTube.
Mhm.
Um, the coolest gear. I mean, just look at these thumbnails and like the the,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
kind of toys they get to play with. And they do test them. You
Mhm.
remember that treadmill? That's where we
Yep,
first
yep.
found this
The
was that
360 treadmill. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like they were the first ones to show me something I really want to get my hands on.
Mhm. Nice.
But here it's the Rokid AR Spatial glasses, and there's other brands like right now. This is an emerging market. You're seeing some different competition there, which is going to help bring the prices down even more. And I think these might set a certain standard for you know lighter VR goggles that you can just wear around the house.
Yeah. That'd be great. Now, again, the trick becomes we know that people got very distracted when they started walking around the streets, just looking at their phones and, wandering out in front of buses and things. This could make it worse where you can't even tell someone's that distracted because it just looks like somebody's wearing shades and they go walking into traffic. So we have to be
Uh,
careful. We have to be careful how you use your technology.
if people get distracted because they're looking at their phone, they're probably going to get even more distracted if they're
Yes.
wearing their phone.
Yes. So wait till you get on the bus, then sitting in your seat. Now you turn on your your eyewear.
Yeah. Kids don't try this at home.
Yes, but
Yes.
but I love the technology. It just must be used responsibly, like any technology.
All right, well, let's see if they can be gaming and entertainment.
Excellent.
Rokid's back, and if you've seen my older reviews, you probably know I've always had a soft spot for their display glasses. Even when there were missing features, their screens were sharp enough that I often picked them over others anyway. Now they're back with something new, the Rokid Max 2 glasses and the updated Station 2. Together, they make up the Rokid AR Spatial pack, and things got a whole lot more interesting. Big thanks to Rokid for sponsoring this first impressions, not a full review yet until I spend more time with it. Today, I'll take you beyond reality and into what's changed. So what exactly is this setup? The Rokid Max 2 are display glasses, super lightweight and designed to give you a giant virtual screen right in front of your eyes. And their Station 2 is their companion device that powers the spatial features that let you run apps and multitask. They form an AR system called Yoda OS Master, super cute name, and it's focused entirely on spatial computing.
Take it to him, Ariel.
That means you can open up to 3 virtual screens at once, and these aren't just 3 windows of the same app. You can actually run 3 different apps side by side, which isn't something most other display glasses can do. Place them around your view and you can still see your surroundings while you work, watch or play. If you haven't heard of Rokid before, they've actually been at this for quite a while. The company was founded back in 2014 and they started shipping display glasses to consumers in 2020. I've reviewed several of their earlier models already, and while I hadn't heard much from them lately, it turns out they've been quietly working on this complete redesign, and from the first use it really shows. The AR Spatial bundle is priced at $648 US or $578 with the discount code I've linked below. The glasses and Station are also available separately if you prefer. But let's take a look at what's in the box first. Inside the Rokid Max 2 box, you get a redesigned carrying case, the glasses themselves covered by a light blocking cover, extra nose piece, a USB-C to USB-C cable, manuals, a cleaning cloth, and then there's the Rokid Station 2 box that includes the Station 2 device, a thoughtful silicone case for the device, another USB-C to USB-C cable, and manuals. Nothing too fancy here, just everything you need to get started. Now before we talk about my highlights of this thing, let's talk about the new design, starting with the glasses. Rokid has always taken a slightly different approach when it comes to how their glasses look. The Max 2 uses a design that wraps around the optics, which helps hide those bulkier birdbath style lenses more than most. Personally, I think it works. It gives the glasses a cleaner silhouette, even if it's more of a personal taste thing. They come in at just 75 grams, so they're light enough to wear for a few hours straight, although I have to test this a little bit more later. On the right frame, you'll find 3 buttons: volume up, volume down, and a brightness toggle for the display. The new case design is a nice step up too. It's way roomier than most AR glasses cases I've seen. There's a dedicated compartment for accessories and even a removable divider that I assume is meant for the Station. And instead of a zipper, it closes like a clamshell and it still seals tightly. The build feels sturdy and their leather-like material adds a more premium touch. It's nothing groundbreaking, but genuinely thoughtful. Now the Rokid Station 2. This thing is small and fits nicely in the hand. It's kind of cute, honestly. On the left side there are volume buttons, and on the right you've got a home button and a menu button. Up top is a power button and a battery indicator. The entire front area is a capacitive touchpad, so it acts like a mini trackpad or pointer. More on that in a bit. So here's what stood out right away once I started using them. You can plug the Max 2 glasses into any device that supports USB-C DisplayPort alt mode, like a phone, Steam Deck or laptop, and you get a mirrored screen inside the glasses. It uses micro OLED displays at 1080p or 1200p per eye depending on the source, with a perceived brightness of around 600 nits. It runs at 60 Hz, but if you use the Station 2, you can also do 120 Hz. There's also a built-in diopter adjustment from 0 to -6.00D, which is helpful if you're nearsighted. These glasses without the Station don't have built-in stabilization or 3DoF tracking. The image just follows your head movement, which is perfectly fine for basic media consumption. But if you want to do 3DoF tracking, that's where the Station 2 comes in. The Station 2 is more than just a streaming box. It runs on a Snapdragon 6 Gen 1 chip, has 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.2 and a 5000 mAh battery. It also includes a 9-axis IMU sensor to enable that 3DoF tracking, and there are 2 USB-C ports, one for the glasses and one for charging, both supporting up to 18 watts of fast charging. Once you snap on the glasses and boot up the Station, you notice the biggest change. It runs its own operating system now called Yoda OS. Station 1, the previous one, was more like a Google TV, but now it's kind of like a mini computer, not just a casting box. You get access to the Google Play Store, so you can download Android apps directly and run them natively and on a giant floating screen. There's now a mini taskbar along the bottom for jumping between apps and accessing quick settings. The front touchpad on the Station acts like a mouse. You move your hand to guide the cursor and tap to click, or if you prefer, you can switch it to mousepad mode, so it behaves more like a laptop trackpad. You can run up to 3 app windows at once in 3DoF, so imagine YouTube in one window, social media in another, and a browser off to the side, all at the same time without switching between screens. The windows can be repositioned and each window can be changed to a wide, ultra-wide or narrow size. There's also the theater mode, which gives you that massive screen effect. That's also where you can freely resize the screen to match your comfort to up to 300 inch. Now, about that claim, remember that it's more of a reference point. The idea is that it feels like you're looking at a 300 inch screen floating 8 meters in front of you, but what actually defines what you see is the field of view. And here it's around 50 degrees. That's a solid bump over previous Rokid glasses, though a bit less than some of the newest competitors, which are now hitting around 57 degrees, but those also come with a higher price tag. With 50 degrees view to view, you have to imagine that you're watching through like a rectangular box, so even if the screen is 300 inches, you will still see only a small part of it, so you most likely be putting the screen a little bit less big. And yes, Netflix works natively, no workarounds needed, it just opens and plays, which isn't always the case with display glasses. So this means it also supports other DRM apps like Prime Video and Disney Plus, and it's just really nice to have access to all these different apps because this device has access to the Google Play Store. Now, the glasses do not have electrochromic dimming, so it's either see-through with a bit of natural darkness, or you clip on the light blocking cover. The see-through mode, so without the cover, does have its perks though. Rokid makes pretty smart use of the transparency, like they fade out backgrounds or overlay spatial elements, which gives some visuals a more immersive AR-like feel. One of the nicer touches is this constellation background that slowly fades in, making it feel like your room has now been filled with space stars. These kinds of small design decisions might go unnoticed, but as someone with a background in interaction design, I really appreciate those. They also have about 35 spatial apps you can play and try out. It's super cute, and you can install third-party app stores even like Aurora for even more flexibility. So you can can really customize this thing to your needs. For my personal setup, I've already got Google Docs for script writing and Moonlight and Steam Link for game streaming and, you know, social media, paired with a Bluetooth keyboard or controller, and it really becomes this compact, portable entertainment and productivity system without needing anything else. It also supports 3D content and spatial videos, including ones shot on certain iPhones. And while we're talking about Apples, the Apple Vision Pro is obviously in a league of its own when it comes to mixed reality with full spatial mapping, hand tracking, and a much larger field of view, but Rokid isn't really trying to compete with that directly. This setup is going for something else. It's lighter, simpler, and costs about 1/5 of the price. You don't get the advanced sensors or VR, but for watching content, multitasking, and just basic spatial interaction, it gets closer. It also feels like Rokid is leaning into community feedback this time. They've built out their OS with actual user input, and that shows. A lot of the features that were missing before are finally here, and it's a big improvement because of that. So far, I've tried the setup in a few different scenarios. At home, I've been using it to binge Netflix. Theater mode makes it feel like I got a massive screen hovering in my room without taking up any space. In the garden, I was actually writing this script using floating windows, a small Bluetooth keyboard on my lap, just relaxing outside. It worked surprisingly well, though you definitely want to use the clip-on cover because the sunlight washes the image out too much otherwise. And I played Steam games in my empty, sad, messy studio right now because I just moved, but these glasses really does make that kind of scenarios better. So these aren't dramatic use cases, but that's kind of the point with just the station and the glasses. You don't need a laptop or phone anymore. It's a compact setup that still lets you get stuff done or just kick back and watch something without needing much else. So my first impressions are good. The Max 2 glasses are lightweight and comfortable enough for a few hours of use. The image still looks nice and sharp, which was always Rokid's strong point. I don't wear a prescription myself, though, so I couldn't fully test the diopter range, but the adjustment is there if you need it. The Station 2 has been surprisingly capable so far. The UI feels responsive and multitasking works well. I did notice that the virtual screens can drift over time, but recalibrating is quick, so it hasn't been a major issue, but it is something I'll keep an eye on during longer sessions. One thing worth mentioning, the Station 2 does make a bit of fan noise. It's not super loud, but in a quiet room, especially at night, you definitely hear it. Not a deal breaker, but something to be kept in mind. I still need to test battery life, image quality, and how it holds up in different environments for extended use. All that's coming in the full review. I think I need like a week or two more with the device, so if there's anything specific you want me to test or show in that review, definitely drop it in the comments because I still have some time for it. But if you're curious already, I've got a $70 exclusive discount code from Rokid and a link in the description where you can check out the Rokid Max and Station 2 yourself. Don't forget to subscribe for more XR content, it helps a lot.
Nice.
Oh, and that's not even the full review.
Exactly. Just a part of the review.
I'm actually sold. Like, it does everything I would want it to do, and then some. I like the idea of augmented reality. I don't want to put like giant goggles on that completely replace what I can see.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be able to have a keyboard in front of me. There's my screen and see the keyboard. That kind of blend is much more useful.
And even the light blocking, having the option to just clip on a thing on the outside. I mean, you know, I've used glasses before and had, you know, clip on sunglasses. So, you know, it's not super ideal, but with this scenario, it's going to be something that's in the box that you already have with you with the glasses and the you know, the case. So the whole thing is all right there anyway. And the idea is, you know, you're going to be outside, you put the thing on, you know you're going to be in a bright room, you know, you put it on beforehand. I like that idea as well. And as we mentioned before, you got to be careful with the augmented that you're not using it while you're just wandering around, which sounds lovely, but if you're doing it, you're like, oh no, small field of view. But yeah, people are very easily distracted.
Yeah, don't get too comfortable with them and start to like focus. You really can't split your focus. So you are either focusing on what those glasses are showing you, or you're focused on the street and the cars that are coming. If you try to do both, you could get hit by a car.
Yeah, see, multitasking is a skill, and that's the thing, is doing tech support for decades. That's one of those things that we do kind of figure out how to work on this problem while you're talking about this, while you're doing that. So you kind of get used to having your attention pulled multiple directions, but at the same time, so many people can't walk and chew gum, and they would wear something like this and have it in augmented reality. And this is so great, and be chatting with their friend in a video call on this one while they had something else over here and something else over there. I just walk right off into traffic.
Yeah,
I can just see that happen.
You might start seeing like pedestrian laws in the future that where like you cannot use these while you walk.
It probably says it in the manual. I mean, honestly, because it is one of those things that it is very important. You have to always be aware of your surroundings, and safety is important. That's one of those things.
If it was like say for just small detailed information in the corner of the screen, like hey, I'm looking at things and I'm getting a little pop-up, you are looking at this.
Well, like that constellation mode that they had a minute ago, where just in your room in a blank spot in the background, it just brings up a little constellation of stars. They can use that same kind of a thing, but put, as you say, pop-up information or whatever in those spots that are not important for what you need for navigating where you're walking. Like, shouldn't be blocking what you're walking, and it shouldn't be blocking the surroundings of what you're trying to see.
And given the size of like her studio there and what she's got to work with, for people in limited space but want that like 70-inch TV experience, I mean, it's a little pricey, but it's not like expensive pricey. It's just on the edge of, it's a nicety at $700. If they get it down to $500, it starts to hit a sweet spot.
Yeah. And like one thing that they're saying about the 300-inch TV, like as the reference, 300-inch TV at 8 meters. I mean, that's 24, 25 feet away. That's pretty far. So that's why it's like she was talking about, kind of looking through a box at a 300-inch TV that's far away, but it's about the crispness of how it looks also. So it looks like as crisp as a TV would, at that range, which.
Well, and that's what I was wondering. Like, you're going to have some people whose eyes don't adjust as fast as others. It's the same kind of situation when motion sickness and, VR can't work for everybody because some of us, our eyes don't work the same way.
I very much like the fact that they have some of those adjustments built in, though, like the one for the field of view where, you can make the screens, bigger or smaller, so you can adjust the actual screens themselves, make a narrow window over here, that kind of stuff, as well as they were mentioning the diopter range for people who have, vision correction needs. They can actually, dial in and try to correct for nearsightedness.
Yeah, and as far as like physically wearing it, she didn't seem to be complaining about uncomfortable or any. A lot of these goggles and this technology, you hear people bitch like, this thing is like a helmet. And
yeah, I mean, I remember when they were a helmet. Essentially, it looked like you were about to climb into a TIE fighter. Yeah, I mean, for sure.
Yeah, the fact that they've gotten it down into this like really little form factor. I mean, anybody who wears glasses on a regular basis is used to that experience.
Yeah. And again, like you mentioned, with virtual reality, with 3D, like trying to look at, remember 3D glasses, a lot of people, some people just can't see it. And some people, it has to do with color blindness, or it has to do with the way, as you said, the eyes focus, or how much their brain listens to this eye versus that eye. A lot of different things can factor into those things. So again, with any of these types of things, your mileage may vary, but it looks like it covers all the bases in terms of what it can do, what it can connect with. I love that interface that it's got inside.
It connects to everything. You can connect it to a PC, to a phone. Anything sending a video signal can be. I mean, yes, it's through USB-C, but at the same time, all my modern devices have a USB-C plug ready to output to video.
Yeah. I like it very much.
Yeah, for the gamers out there who want to be able to go sit on the couch and don't have the TV that they want to play it on, this is a good alternative.
I tell you what, that with that coupon code she mentioned there, that probably gets you down closer to that $500 price range that you were talking. So
if you're buying one of these now, take advantage of that. She's hooking you up.
Yeah, absolutely. Good review. Lots of good information.
Yeah, that's at Cass and Cherry. I will be going back for that full review. I love what she tested there, and I'm sure she did more stress test and
over that next week. Yeah, for sure.
In environmental situations, like knowing that you need the shader when you're out in the sun, all good stuff to know.
Yeah, I like it.
So now Yamaha's got a new MIDI guitar. And I've looked at Yamaha MIDI guitars in the past, and in the old days they were toys. Something you might have bought for the kids, but musicians weren't like taking those serious. This one maybe Baymud. At Baymud, nice and consistent with the naming.
I like the light up guitar top there. Nice.
Yeah. Oh, and he's got some good gear, and he's gonna be looking at what we're gonna be looking at in a moment.
Sneak preview.
That's probably how I got one nudge from the other. Like I was looking for one thing tonight and stumbled across these cool little pieces of gear, and
nice.
I think any guitarist out there, if you can get a cost friendly MIDI guitar in your utility belt with all your other guitars, there's a usefulness for these kinds of devices as a guitarist.
All right. Looks like some good stuff there.
Let's see if Yamaha brought it this time.
Bring it.
Oh, there it is.
Hello, I'm Baymud, and I've got something strange. I had a few other things planned this week, but then this ridiculous MIDI guitar fell into my lap, so here we are. Today, we're taking a brief look at the Yamaha EZ-AG, or EZ-AG if you're Canadian like me, as it's my current obsession. You know when a movie is so bad it's good? This is the Troll 2 of instruments. If that hasn't caught your interest, then this may not be for you. Launched in 2003 as one of Yamaha's self-teaching guitars, the EZ-AG is the companion to the EZ-EG. AG for acoustic guitar, and EG for electric guitar, as far as I know. Heavy on the air quotes, as this is obviously not an acoustic guitar. As far as I can tell, this was created by taking a normal guitar and a Rock Band controller and putting them through the teleporter from the fly, but I digress. If you've seen some of my other recent videos, then you know I've been a bit obsessed with integrating electric guitar and synths by way of MIDI. So far I've been pretty happy with the Fishman triple play pickup I bought a few months ago, but when I saw this weird little beauty on a local Kijiji ad for super cheap, I couldn't resist. Here's a quick summary, including some pros and cons. Basically, the EZ-AG is a Rompler keyboard in the shape of a guitar with buttons instead of frets. 20 internal sounds, actually many more, but we'll get to that later. Strummable strings, built-in speaker, and optional battery power, as well as some onboard play-along song features to teach you classics I never need to hear again, like Tears in Heaven. The fret buttons light up to help you learn the chords. The kicker here is there is full MIDI in and out, so it can be used to both control other synths, as well as become a multi-timbral sound module to be sequenced externally. Not to mention, it looks like the radical sci-fi future as envisioned by someone in the 80s, and the fret buttons make for some wonderful ASMR. Some obvious cons: the onboard sounds are super cheesy. But that's actually part of the charm, in my opinion. Buttons mean no vibrato, no matter how hard I instinctively try. The learning section takes up valuable real estate, limiting the neck to 12 frets, and the song buttons are super easy to hit accidentally, which starts a panic-inducing count-in to the aforementioned Tears in Heaven.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Furthermore, while hammer-ons work just fine, pull-offs don't work on open strings. For example, here is a fretted string with a pull-off after it. Fine, but here's an open string. So it takes some getting used to. And much like other MIDI guitars, it requires super clean playing, but that's something I'm trying to get better at anyway. However, unlike other MIDI guitar solutions, the frets being buttons means there's zero latency, as there's no pitch to interpret. It's just like pressing a key on a keyboard. Pressing the buttons without strumming sends the note at a very low velocity as well, which can be handy from a MIDI perspective. For example, here is a pick note versus... Tuning can also be changed via buttons with some standard tuning options available, which may finally force me to experiment with other tunings. There's also a built-in capo that never fails to impress me in a Tron-like retro simplicity. The AG model also has a mute strip, so you can silence errant notes or play a sort of palm muted sound. No individual muting, it's all or nothing. Whereas the Easy EG model has a bitchin' whammy bar. I've never tried an EG model. I only found out these guitars existed last week, but in my limited understanding, one of the differences is the AG is geared more toward fingerpicking or playing with your bare hand. Because when I play it with a pick, it doesn't feel as good. There's something with the tension of these rubbery kind of fake strings that seems to lend itself more to playing with your bare hand. So who is this for? Well, I assume Yamaha thought it was going to help teach the next generation how to play the old generation's music. But little did they know the real audience would be MIDI-obsessed gear nerds who long for the Fisher-Price Cybertruck of guitars. I can imagine trying one of these in 2003 and being disappointed when compared to an actual guitar. Personally, I don't quite see how it would help a novice learn guitar from scratch, as it's just too weird. But somewhat ironically, knowing a bit of guitar already makes the Easy AG useful as a strange controller. If you've got an open mind and are looking for something weird to make sounds with, they're a lot of fun. Of course, like anything, your enjoyment will vary with how much you paid. It's cheesy, ridiculous, not always easy to play, but also a clear conversation starter and more powerful than you'd first think. For instance, while you can access 20 sounds via the buttons on the unit, it's actually got a built-in general MIDI implementation, something I had no idea existed until wading through the 127-page thread on KVR about the Easy AG. Which means there are actually over 128 sounds to choose from via external program change messages. Not to mention, that standard implementation also means channels 10 and 11 access full drum kits, and bank change messages can get you even more. As far as I can tell, it's actually General MIDI 2, which means you can sequence 32 voices at once. If I'm wrong and it's General MIDI 1, then it's 24 voices, which is still great. Sure, the sounds are dated, but some of them are actually very serviceable. Not to mention, you can also use it as a controller for other synths. There's no user control over the MIDI channels, which is a bit annoying, as each string is set to its own channel. But you can get around that using something like one of these CME MIDI boxes, or similar software if you're more computer oriented. In my case, it works well with the Deluge via MPE settings to merge the strings, especially using MIDI follow to control whatever synth is active. This is all to say I'm having a lot of fun with it, but keep in mind, I got mine for a super good price locally. I don't think I'd have spent the $300 I see them going for, but if you can get one for less, they're a lot of fun as long as you temper your expectations and don't expect like a real guitar. The biggest downside is it won't hang on my wall as there's no headstock, but at least I don't have to sell a guitar to make room. Have you ever come across one of these before? Did it finally help you learn Tears in Heaven? Let me know if you've got any questions or tips. I've got some ideas of how I'll use it, so if you want to see more, leave a comment. In the meantime, I'll be making weird cheesy noise with my Yamaha EZ-AG.
We got cheesy.
Cheesy video game music, essentially, at the end. Yeah. I like it.
Well, and he's not wrong. The patches, they're kind of like retro, for Yamaha sounds.
Mm-hmm.
But you actually saw its usefulness there at the end when you use it like a synth like that. If you're a guitarist and you can get like synth layers with something that you're actually like comfortable playing, that's a great way to add them.
I actually did have a guitar, something that was just like this, but like the Fisher priced down version from this almost, and not when I was a little toddler, but like it was something I picked up somewhere. It had the same kind of nylon, mushy kind of strings that you play and they don't make any sound in the room. They just like flip flop.
Yeah.
They're not tight, so they don't feel like normal strings would, but they do trigger, and in the actual instrument and the sound that it's actually playing, it does sound like strumming a guitar. But the one I had was very, very small, so it only had, it was more like a ukulele size, but like a short scale ukulele with no headstock.
Well, even a regular guitar looks like a ukulele in your
Exactly, it does. And I do have my Yamaha, like my acoustic electric right here is a Yamaha, so that is as far as like real instruments as well as the smaller ones.
Well, now we know why it looks like an acoustic. It's their acoustic guitar.
The acoustic simulator. And I like the idea that the lighting up of the frets, the fact that the buttons, like he was saying, if you have a general knowledge of guitar, or even if you're just starting out, but if you understand the feel of the guitar, you understand the notes, you understand how to play just simple things, as far as you understand where those are.
It teaches you fretting in a like Guitar Hero kind of approach.
Exactly. And it can just make it where, if you just hold these strings, and it can help you arpeggiate, as you mentioned, like you can, learn how to do the strumming for arpeggiation and all.
That's what I was thinking. Like, considering it is a MIDI device, Yamaha should have an arpeggiator in there. So if you haven't learned how to finger it properly, just using the arpeggiator turned on and holding chords, you can get a nice strum or a up down kind of arpeggiation, and just focus on the chording. And as a chording guitar with an arpeggiator, and I would go to another synthesizer. I like the Yamaha sounds, but it's fully MIDI. Send it to a good sampler, and now you got a real acoustic guitar sound.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, is the playing would feel that much more rewarding with, a real high quality sound like that. So if you do take that step up with it, then that would help. There's still, as he mentioned, it's still probably more comfortable finger style on the acoustic model, because the strings feel better that way. He hasn't tried the electric one. My guess would be if it's the same kind of strings that are also not under high tension, they would probably also feel more comfortable on the fingers instead of with a pick. But it could also be that they changed that for the electric model to, you know, a higher tension string that actually feels more like that. But my initial thought is that a higher tension string would mean louder in the room, and they would probably want to stay away from that.
Yeah, and I think for him, he sees the fun in this device.
Yeah.
But he does have a MIDI pickup. What he mentioned that he had, like he had just like gotten an actual MIDI pickup on a real guitar is the like best way to go with MIDI on guitar. And you know, he's a little spoiled there. So when he gets to play with something like this, it's like how can this be useful? And he does see a usefulness out of this controller. I don't know if it's a $300 usefulness, but you cut that price in half and hey, you can find them.
Now, when he did that one thing at the end there where he was sending the MIDI messages and he was running the drums and the pads and piano all from the guitar, that's pretty impressive.
Well, it does have a full-blown General MIDI kit in it. So it has the 126, 27 samples that like all General MIDI synths have. Yes, a couple of guitars, some brass, a couple of different strings, and drum kits. The drum kit channel on channel 10 usually has like 13 to 20 different drum kits in it for rock, pop, 808, all the different category, orchestra drums.
Sure. Timpani. You get it all.
Yeah, more timpani.
Get it all in there.
Fuck that cowbell. I want timpani.
Well, you know, we can allow some cowbell. I mean, cowbell is not, you know, we're not going to kick cowbell out of the room. That's for sure.
No, I do like the cowbell, damn it. So that was at Bay Mud over on YouTube. A fun look at, I wouldn't call it a toy. I would call it a unique MIDI controller.
Yeah, and this is obviously like the next generation up, several generations up of the one that I had, which I don't remember where it is now, but I think I might have loaned it to a friend and he like gave it to his kid to play with and try, you know, because I was like, it's cute, it's fun. Like I broke it out at a campfire somewhere and it was fun, but this is like several steps up from that. So this is much closer to, you know, the hybrid, like you said, you put them in the teleporter and from the fly, like an acoustic guitar and a MIDI electric thing, and just bzz, there you go.
Oh, I'm gonna give Rolo an idea. Loaned it to a friend who loaned it to a friend who
teleported it to her fly.
Loaned it to another. I don't know where it is now.
It's missing, but it's out there and it's going to good use.
I've had gear like that too.
And here we go with the pentatonic neck. Nice.
Yes. This neck got my attention as I was going through the thumbnails looking at interesting prospects. I was like, Glenn's probably seen this neck. I never seen it before, but
I haven't seen it actually on the neck like that, but I mean I recognize the pattern that I see, and that looks to me like, just looking at the middle there, looking at the 12th fret, looks like you're playing E minor pentatonic right there.
And I do see to me, like, you know, I look at keyboards for patterns, and usually with guitars, the dots, I know guitarists know what that is, but as a keyboardist, I look at that and it's Greek to me. Here, I kind of see the keyboardish pattern, except it's on one neck, and I feel like I'm looking at like an octave and a half.
Yeah. And again, for this one, the main thing to kind of home in on is that one line that you see going all the way across the neck. Like I don't know if you can make it out, but like all the different spots.
The one in the middle, like
that one right there.
Neck, the 11th fret.
Is that what that is? I mean, I can't see where the dots are on the neck from here, so I can't tell. But it does. I thought at first it was going to be the 12th fret and that it would be the octave. But then I'm looking at the open string would be the other spot where it would be open like that, and it doesn't look like it would be. So this might actually be, that might be the 10th fret where that is, because this might be D minor pentatonic.
Yeah, I
because
think
it looks like that's where
I
the
think
pattern
the
is.
double dots is the 12th fret if I counted it properly.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, the double dots are the 12th fret.
Now where's the first black marking, shall we say? Is that on the very, very first fret, or is that first marking?
Yeah. Well, the first fret has that like square that's like just under the E.
But only one square across that whole fret, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's got to be a reason for it. I'm sure that Suki's gonna explain it to us.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and this is at Suki Chirillo LGW. I hope I said that right. Let me know, Suki.
All right.
And this is a fretboard like I've never seen before. That's why I had to include it.
Absolutely. You gotta hear the story and see what it's all about.
Explain it to us.
You've looked at this fretboard your whole life, but I bet you've never seen it like this. What? These are the black keys on the piano, and I want to talk to you today about the massive implications, what this is, and how cool this is. Back in 2008, when I was teaching here in New York City, and someone asked me, why isn't the guitar fretboard white and black like the piano? Boom. Man, I just love that question. So we had a guitar repair place at the school I was teaching, and I went there and asked this guy who was there at the time, Alan, if he had a broken guitar neck I could borrow. I had a lunch break coming up, and I was dying to try this. So yes, here we go. And he handed me this pseudo teleneck here, and I was like, perfect. I got my Sharpie, I had my lunch, I had an hour. Now, at that time, even though this was a long time ago, I still knew all the notes very quickly on the fretboard. So I just sat down, I drew 6 lines for the strings, I took my Sharpie, and I started to fill in the black notes. I started here on the very first one, which was F sharp. And then I did G sharp and A sharp, and then here's the B to C, and so forth. And I did it on per string. And if you look at this, you can see on a single string how the piano keys line up with the fretboard. So I want to talk about how these black keys, what they are. We kind of know what the white keys are, but I want to dig into what that is as well. So when I sat down that lunch and I filled in all the black keys, at first I laughed because I was like, it looks like the piano like threw up all over the guitar fretboard. Then it hit me. What this really was, these are the 5 patterns of an E flat minor or G flat major pentatonic. And it just things started clicking. I never saw it like this, and I want to show you guys what this is and how cool this is. So when you think about one string in music, just before we even pull back the language, before piano, before guitar, there's only 12 notes, right? And there's 5 black keys and 7 white keys. That's the entire language of music, is those 12 notes. The white keys are simply A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They started as an A minor, true A minor scale, and there's a half step we know between B to C and E to F. The in between the 5, the black keys, people call them enharmonics or accidentals for whatever reason, and they have 2 names, right? So like this first note we know is F sharp, but it's also G flat. So I like to think of them in different ways depending on what I'm doing with them. But like if you look at this graphic, you can see how I took the low E string or the high E string, and the 2 outer strings are 2 octaves apart, but that's irrelevant. And you can see how it lines up on the fretboard. So you can see where the 2 half steps are for B to C, and even open E to F, or up here E to F. But when you do this for each of the 6 strings, you put all 12 notes on the fretboard, and amazingly enough, I knew that the white keys for the piano represented the natural notes. I also musically knew that the black keys, the 5 of them, are a pentatonic scale. I couldn't believe that these were the 5 patterns of the E flat minor pentatonic. So I talk about the rock and roll rule. This is pattern number 1 for me. I number the patterns the same way, whether they're pentatonics, major or minor, or any of the modes. There's only 5 inherent patterns on the guitar. That's up for a lot of debate, but that's how I end up looking at it. Keep it simple. So here's pattern 1. Look at this. This is what I call the rock and roll rule. And this you can clearly see is pattern 1 of the pentatonics. Now it's funny because it's straddling the 12th frets. We don't see it in the open position when we're thinking like E minor. But from here, here's pattern 2, right? I can trace it right across. Here's pattern 3, here's pattern 4, and here's pattern 5. And those correlate to all of the pentatonic shapes, right? So here's E flat, G flat major. And I could follow those same patterns. That is all the black keys on the piano are the 5 patterns of our pentatonic. That's how, this is what it should look like in your brain when someone says E flat minor or G flat major. These notes should all light up. These are our patterns. That blew me away. I was laughing so hard when I saw this. And then of course, look again. The inverse. All that is yellow are the white keys, and those are our C major scales. So I talk about even this rock and roll rule. So if I say this for pattern 1 for C major, I'm going to put my pinky on this C, and that puts the first finger on the relative minor, A. And here is what I call pattern 1 of the mode shapes. So if I'm looking at the guitar here in this sense, here's pattern 1, here's the C major under my pinky. And that's the inverse of it, right? So we can clearly see how the white keys are all, and this is all the modes in C major. That's the really incredible part, is this is also C major, D Dorian, E Phrygian, F Lydian, G mixed Lydian, A Aeolian, and if you ever need it, B Locrian. And those are all the white keys. And the beautiful thing is if you see them, it's like yin and yang. They fit together to make the entire 12 notes of our entire music system. 7 white keys, 5 black keys, and they fit together to make our 12 notes on a keyboard. We think of that, of course. And it will also do it on our fretboard. All 7 white notes plus all 5 black will give us the patterns for C major and the patterns for an E flat minor pentatonic scale. I found that so remarkable and so cool and enlightening, and it just blew me away about the guitar. What it really also illustrates is how deceptive the guitar is. I remember my first reaction was it looks like the piano like vomited all over the fretboard because the black notes are all over the place. It's hard to see the 3 black, the 2 white, the 2 black, and 2 white pattern. It's on a single string this way. So you can see how the guitar can be really nuanced in terms of 1 octave on 1 string is this far, open to 12. That's a single octave. Yet from this E to this E is twice that and is 2 octaves. You have to keep this perspective on the guitar. This is where it really comes into clarity on this. When we play your old school G chord, these 2 outer Gs are 24 piano keys. That is a big stretch. I don't think even Shaq can reach that. That is huge. But we do it with as a beginner guitar chord. On the piano, there's like over 7 octaves of notes, and none of them repeat. That's what's beautiful about a piano. There's no guessing. Middle C is that C in the middle, and that is it. It's either octaves or unisons and stuff. But on the guitar, do you have any idea how many middle Cs we have? Think for a second. 5. That's bonkers, right? But just quickly, here they are. The timbre changes, but those are all middle Cs. So it's really important to think of this and how to keep a musical perspective on what your notes are doing on the guitar. Range-wise, step-wise, we have about a 4-octave range on guitar. Not nearly as big as the piano, even though it seems like we have 120 plus notes or something. A lot of redundancy. Okay, so remember the idea was that our 7 white notes are C major, the 5 black notes are E flat minor or G flat major, and that's a musical truth, I call that. Now, above and beyond guitar or piano, that's been around for a long time. We know that as a musician, we see the 12 frets on the guitar. We can see that little mini piano on one string. But the beauty is when you combine them, they make the complete fretboard, which is our 12-note music system. I absolutely love this. I think this is just the coolest thing in the world when I first discovered this. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know if you've ever seen a fretboard like this. I don't think I've ever seen any custom shop or anybody anywhere ever do this. And that's funny, over the years, like I said, this was, I think 2008, I had this in my classroom to remind me for years. We shut down during COVID. One of my biggest things was, don't get rid of my neck, man. I love that neck. And it's been with me ever since. And I brought it back to my studio here, and it's here with me all the time. But I would love to see a fretboard fully done. I wanted to paint this white and put some tuners on here and put some strings on here and make it look like the real deal. But let me know in the comments below if you guys have ever seen a piano on the fretboard like that. And as usual, my name is Souk. Thank you so much. Everything is at soukcerulo.com. I would love to have you be part of my community, the 6-string community. If not, sign up on the mailing list below. Get tuned into my emails and stuff like that, and we'll keep playing, right? That's what we do out there. All right, guys. Have a great day.
Oh, Souk Cirillo. Thank you, Souk. That's how you pronounce it.
And
I will never look at the guitar neck the same.
it's a great way of visualizing it. And like you said, it's good to see the patterns on the one side while you're looking at the thing on the other side, and having the piano keys laid next to the guitar strings like that. And even that little example of the 5 middle C's on the guitar, those are all the same note. And again, they sound a little different, but and that shows you how the guitar is tuned, how it is, you're going 5 frets here, 5 frets here, eventually 4 frets there, 5 frets there.
Yeah, his overlays on the left were blowing my mind. I was like, wow, that is how it works.
Exactly. And then once that, kind of lights up, then when you pick up a guitar, for example, you can test that. You can see, oh, this note is the same as this note, is the same as this note. It's less important to know what the note name is, like if you're just feeling your way around, as it is to see that this note is equivalent to that note, and this is equivalent to that note. And that way you can find where they are on the neck. And, you find different ways of playing things where, you hear something, you're trying to play along, but you can't make it from this note to the next chord. But if you do it on this string, all of a sudden it's easy because now it's in the right place.
And I love the idea of having a neck. The dots is one pattern recognition. Yep. At 12, you're at the octave.
Yep.
But mixing in, guitar manufacturers, selling custom necks for, say, beginning guitarists, where having these little highlights on the neck can help you to understand the patterns much faster than buying an old school guitar that just has a bunch of dots.
Yeah, we have seen ones with light up necks where you can put different patterns and same thing, show which notes to play when.
That's what I was thinking as I was watching. I was like, damn, he put this together with a Sharpie. If you got one of these new necks that you can actually program the colors of the neck, you could have one kind of lighting system that helps to learn like a Aeolian, or when you're dealing with a certain mode, these lights help you. And
that's one thing that's beautiful about what he's holding in his hand right there, like that picture that you're looking at, that has all 7 modes right there. Like that's what we're looking at, is like all 7 modes are represented right there, because on the guitar, if you're just using one mode, would be, in this case, it would be C. If you start on the note C, you'd be playing, and you play all the white notes, you'll be playing C Ionian, because it's a C major that we're looking at there. Or sorry, no, in this case, he was the G flat major. That's right. So G flat major. So the G flat would be the major, but then it would be the next one. You go up a whole step and you would now be in Dorian. And if you go up a whole step and start there, now you're in Phrygian. So it's just by moving to that next step up and starting in a different spot. Same thing on the piano. Instead of starting on a C, you start on a D, you're going from Ionian, and then you're doing Ionian to Dorian.
And this is another argument for a lighted neck, because if, let's say, you drop tune,
Sure.
That needs to change in
Well,
order to compensate for a
all you do
drop
is
tune.
you just slide back or slide up. I mean, if you're normally tuned in E, and if you're going to drop tune,
the lights would transpose like MIDI.
well, if you do drop tuning, yes, because drop tuning, you're just dropping the one string. Yes, if you're just dropping that low string and leaving the rest the way they are, that would shift the lights on the one string.
Yes. The lights go out in Georgia.
Yep. And if you do dad-gad tuning, that's another one where like that one is some open acoustic playing does a lot of that with the DAG, DAD tuning, and that would also it's strange when you start playing along with it because you're expecting, when I hit these two notes together, they're not supposed to sound that way, and you hit them and they sound that way. It's like,
I blame Jimmy Page for making me love Dadgad.
Sure. Suk Cirillo.
Suk Cirillo loved the combination of theory, pattern recognition when it comes to being a musician, no matter what instrument. The instrument that you see the pattern, that you naturally can feel, it's why I didn't end up a guitarist. The keyboard made more sense, but now I'm looking at the guitar a whole new way.
Yeah, and that's the thing is the deep knowledge that you have of the keyboard really lends itself to help you when you go to learn guitar, because then you just need to make those couple different things click of how to translate, certain things about how the physics of the guitar works out, the physical setup.
With his explanation, he helped me to understand what I understand there over here, and those are the best teachers, man. You rock.
Oh yeah, and that's the whole thing is everybody knows the sound of the pentatonic scale. So I told that's the advice I give anybody who just wants to get started with music. If you have access to a piano or a keyboard anywhere, if you just play the black notes, I mean, it's always going to sound good because that is the pentatonic scale, and you start and end on whichever note you want. And you'll see how each one feels as a starting and ending point, and you'll see that two of them feel strongest, and that's the the major pentatonic starting and the minor pentatonic starting, but all of them sound and feel fine.
Yeah, you already got the notes down. Now just pick a good sound. Your tone, tone night. We are gonna have. It's one I've been cooking up for a while. So at Suk Cirillo LGW over on YouTube, freshy, like so glad I found this Guitar Night 3.0. We'll be back, Suk.
And I have not seen a guitar neck decked out that way, but I very much like it. And again, first glance, I could see what kind of it's going at, but like I love the way that he brought it together and also had all the patterns kind of locked in a good tie to the piano. Yes.
Yeah. A man and his Sharpie shall explain it
on
all.
A mission. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. Now, we're going to slide into some mixing talk. And if we're going to do mixing talk, we should talk about a mixer. And I love the Zoom mixers. Really want the R8 for the price, and it can record multi-channel for $239. It's one of the only USB mixers in that price range that can actually record 8 channels at the same time.
Yep.
And
nice.
I'm hoping that what they're doing here, they're going after the micro market, smaller form factor, portable mixers, DJs, keyboardists like me. If I don't want to lug a big ass mixer to mix all my synths. You've got 4 stereo line inputs plus 2 hybrid jacks that can be mics or guitars.
Yep.
I'm assuming it must have phantom power. We'll find out.
Yeah, those two should definitely.
Yeah. Zoom doesn't fuck around. So
most certainly not. And again, even just, if you had a small band and wanted, you could bring this to a band practice and be able to get some, some individual track mixing going on.
Yeah, you could actually consolidate the rest of your band. I'm the keyboardist, but I do have enough inputs to get the guitar, the bass. Those actually only take one of those line inputs.
Yeah, exactly.
The drums I might actually use like a couple of those
Well, that's where the drums, we go back to our first video, our second video, where we chain together. We have a small mixer for the drums, and we just take the output from the drums as just a single channel and bring it over.
Yeah, and that actually makes sense, because with drums you're going to have a bunch of mics. You got to make sure you're covering the entire kit.
I like to bring it over as two channels, because I like to get the stereo, because that way you also, if you have overheads, you have an overhead left and right, and you want to make sure you get the stereo separation, because if you pull over just a mono signal, you might lose half of the drums on a big roll like that. So it's good to get, you take the whole stereo signal across.
Well, imagine half of John Bonham. it would still be better than most.
I'm pretty sure I don't have to imagine. I'm pretty sure that I've told you like how I've rolled over my headsets a bunch of times. I'm pretty sure I was listening to some Zeppelin at one point, and one of the headphone sides went out, and it almost like I thought half of my brain was falling out, because it feels like you just it feels like you just went deaf in one ear, and you're like, oh my god, what just happened?
I'm lopsided.
Yeah, it's the worst.
So this one's coming from @midlife synthesist, and for me, I love my synthesizer channels. I was almost going to do a synthesizer night. He got me triggered when I started checking out his stuff. I was like, yes, I do need to do a synthesizer night. Nice. But he's covering this Zoom mixer, and like if the price is right, I have limited space in that music corner at this point. I would like to actually take the big ass Mackie, move it over here, be useful. Take something like this would take care of that corner.
Yeah. And again, very streamlined, small, looks like it's, as long as it's solidly built, that I would say that looks solid as hell.
And a company that has done really well in the mixing market.
Oh yeah, I mean, we've talked about the Zoom H6 that I had for a long time. Then awesome.
I felt it when you lost it.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, it's not even mine. And I was like, no.
It happens, These things happen.
Well, let's see if this holds up like those do.
Yeah.
One of the less talked about downsides of pathological synth hoarding, besides financial distress and potential divorce obviously, is that at some point you're going to have to connect all this stuff together into a mixer or audio interface if you want to use all your gear at the same time. The problem with most mixers and audio interfaces with more than 2 outputs out there is that they can really ramp up in size and end up eating a massive amount of extremely valuable desk space. There's already a couple of small options available out there, like Teenage Engineering's TX6 or the Blue Box by 1010. Although these are tiny, they do have a couple of caveats, starting with the price point and other annoyances like having little 1/8 inch jacks instead of big boy 1/4 inch ones. Enter the Zoom LiveTrack L6. A small, lightweight, battery-powered 10-channel mixer/recorder with MIDI capabilities that cost just a little over $300. I've been using the L6 for a couple of months now for live recording multiple synth setups, and also as my main recorder for making YouTube videos. And I want to share my experience with you, both the good and the bad, beyond the spec sheet and from a real user's perspective. This video is not sponsored by Zoom, and I bought the L6 with my own money, so they have no idea I'm even making this. And as always, all opinions here are my own. This video does have a sponsor, the good folks at Analog Cases, but more on them a bit later. So what's all the fuss about? Well, the Zoom L6 packs a ton of punch for its size and price, let me tell you. It's a chunky little fella, and it would seem like Zoom set out to make use of every single centimeter available on the front panel, so no room is wasted here. The controls and buttons are big enough to read comfortably, and there's enough space between them that even if you have chubby fingers like me, you won't be accidentally knocking things around. There's also plenty of LED lighting, both for knob positions and backlit buttons, so plenty of visual feedback is available for those low-lit conditions. The case and buttons all feel very nice, but the knobs themselves feel decidedly like low-quality 3D printed plastic, and you can tell it's one of the places where they cut corners. But to be fair, they are responsive and they do get the job done. As for power supplies, the L6 can be powered by AA batteries for maximum portability, but it can also be powered by either one of its USB-C ports, one on the front panel and one on the side. I've used my L6 with pretty much every power option out there: AA batteries, a computer, my iPad, No issues whatsoever, and I hear that you can also use a 5-volt power bank as well as, obviously, a wall outlet. The USB-C port on the front is the only one of the two that transfers data, so you will need to plug it in there if you want to access recorded files or use the L6 as an audio interface. One of the L6's more interesting and useful features, for us synth heads especially, is the ability to record in 32-bit float resolution. In case you don't know why that's important, let me give you a brief explanation. Normally, when you record your audio in either 16 or 24-bit resolution, you have to be very mindful of the audio volume not to be too low or too loud. If it's too low, when you try to add gain on it in post, you get a ton of artifacts and noise, like the pixelation you get when you try to zoom in on a low resolution picture. In 32-bit float, the high resolution allows for you to add tons of gain to a low volume recording without adding in artifacts or noise pixelation. On the other hand, if the incoming audio is too loud in 16 or 24, you can easily clip the recording and lose both the top and the bottom extremes of the wave. With 32-bit float, the resolution is so high that it can withstand higher volumes while still keeping that information useful, so you can rescue the waveform, or in other words, it's very difficult to clip your recording. As someone who continually struggles with gain staging and clipping when recording synths and vocals, this sounded like a godsend, at least on paper, so I was eager to try it out. After having used it for a couple of months, I can't say that it is truly useful, but it's not a silver bullet either. Though the audio levels can indeed be fixed in post, you should still try to get the levels right at the moment of recording, as you would usually do, since having to fix the levels in post adds a ton of unnecessary work, especially when recording voiceovers or YouTube videos like this one. I want to take a brief moment here to thank the sponsor of today's video, Analog Cases.
Are you tired of this happening to you? You choke on your morning banana and suddenly spill coffee all over your peak. You forgot you left your OPXY on the desk and accidentally squish it when you sit on it. You sneeze, drop your book, and break your Okos in half. Well, worry not, my accident-prone friend, because Analog Cases has you covered. Analog Cases makes custom cases for most popular synths and groove boxes, as well as desktop stands, performance stands, and my favorite, the TrackPack Backpack. Use my affiliate link in the description to get a discount on your next purchase.
Thank you so much, Analog Cases, for supporting me and other creators like me. Now, back to the video. Each channel has its own level control and panning. You can also send each channel to the internal effects, and you have 2 auxiliary sends that are meant to be used for external effects chains. Finally, you can also EQ each channel with a very straightforward 3-band equalizer, which allows you to move around the mid frequency to further dial things in. The Master Out also features a compressor that can really add some power to that final output while preventing the mix from clipping. Channels 1 and 2 have XLR type inputs and phantom power available as well, so you can plug in a condenser mic like the Rode NT1 for example. It is important to note though that while those channels do offer phantom power, there is no high Z option, so you can't run a passive guitar or bass guitar directly into the L6. And while we're on the subject of input volume levels, something that has annoyed me on the L6 are the gain knobs on the individual channels. I feel like they should be able to crank up the volume in the mix way more than they actually do. Take the Polybrute for example. It's not a particularly loud synth, and I'm used to having to add a bit of gain on any mixer or audio interface that I plug it into. On the L6, it always feels just a bit quiet, even when I fully crank up the gain on the channel I have it on. I'm not sure if this is a software thing that can be upgraded in a firmware update, but I love the gain knobs to offer just a few more dBs of boost per channel. On the other hand though, in regards to louder synths, I do have to say that the claim that it is hard to clip on this thing is not just marketing hype. I've used my Sub 37, which is one of the loudest synths I own, running into this thing pretty hot, and the L6 handled it beautifully. Same thing when singing high energy vocals, and it's really reassuring to know that you can just let loose in your performance and then still be able to salvage the recordings later on. As for the rest of the channels, I'm happy to say that we're dealing with 1/4-inch jacks all around. Channels 3 and 4 are stereo inputs that can also be set to 2 mono inputs each, and channels 5 and 6 can be either 2 stereo, 2 mono left inputs, or be set up to be USB audio inputs 1, 2, 3, and 4 from your DAW. Oh yeah, this thing can act as a fully featured audio interface and MIDI interface with your computer. Now, mixers being able to double as audio interfaces have become a pretty standard thing for a while now, but for them to also act as a MIDI bridge isn't, and I really wish my LiveTrack 12 could have done that back in the day. The L6 features MIDI TRS Type A in and out ports that allow you to either control the Zoom L6 with an external MIDI controller, so you could adjust the levels and panning with faders for example, and it can also act as a MIDI through port, so you can use it to connect your DAW with older gear that does not have USB MIDI like the Octatrack. While on the subject of audio interface duties and compatibility issues, I have successfully used my L6 with Ableton on my MacBook and with GarageBand and Logic Pro on my iPad. I wasn't so lucky on the MPC though. Even though the MPC does recognize it as an audio interface,
I do get a message saying that the recording rate is not compatible with it, which I assume has something to do with the 32-bit float resolution. Unfortunately, I did not find a way to lower the recording resolution of the L6, either on the device or on the companion app. Going further along the front panel, you have the sound pads section. These are non-velocity sensitive pads that can trigger a sound effect or an audio loop, and you can configure this to be a one-shot, loop, or a hold function on the companion app as well. I haven't really gotten much use out of these buttons, but I imagine they might come in handy if I was doing a live stream or a podcast, and I could trigger something like an intro and outro music and maybe a laugh track or something. And you have a few select onboard effects as well. Now, of course, they aren't the wildest thing you've ever heard, especially if you're a fan of Strymon or Chase Bliss, but they sound a lot better than they have any right to, especially at this price point. They do come in very handy in cases like when you want to add a bit of reverb to a vocal for reference without wanting to actually set up the final vocal effects chain. Also, the effects do have a few parameters that you can tweak in the companion app to spice them up a bit if you want to. Speaking about the effects, it might be useful to keep in mind that when you're recording, each individual channel is recorded before the level, panning, effects, or EQ, so these won't be imprinted in the final audio file for each track. The master track is recorded as a mixdown though, so you could still get those effects and settings burned in there if you wanted. After you've taken the time to set things up just right for your live setup, you would be right in thinking that it would be difficult, or at least time consuming, to get things the exact same way that you had before from scratch every time you switch this thing on. Thankfully, the L6 has 3 scene slots that can remember the entire state of the device for you to recall instantly. Every fader position, every knob, EQ and effect value, etc. So you don't have to do this each time and can switch between a maximum of 3 setting states or templates if you will. Finally, the Zoom L6 can also record internally and play back audio from a micro SD card. Funnily enough, I remember that one of my major gripes with the L12 was that it had a 2-step recording process. You would press record to ARM, but then you had to press play for it to actually start recording. I lost many hours of audio thanks to that little quirk, because I would press record and start playing or talking in a video while not actually recording anything. Fun times. I'm pleased to report, however, that this is not the case on the L6 and that when you press record, it'll start recording immediately. No other steps necessary. So final verdict, is this the ultimate portable mixer for DAWless musicians? I'd at least say its pros far outweigh its cons, especially when considering how competitively Zoom have priced it. It's small, lightweight, battery powered, and it offers the enormous benefits of 32-bit resolution. I do still wish that it had higher gain per channel and that at least one channel offered high Z to plug in an acoustic guitar directly, but I'm nitpicking here. The L6 is a winner whichever way you look at it, and it gets the midlife seal of approval. It's one of the best options out there if you're looking for a portable, versatile mixer that won't break the bank. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please remember that you can always support my channel with something as simple as just clicking the like button, subscribing, or leaving me a comment, even if it's just to say hi. I hope you found this video useful, or at least entertaining. Have a great week. I'll see you next time.
Oh, he's got me looking at prices.
Yes, indeed. I mean, like you said, that does go kind of back to the top of your wish list, right?
Yeah, it does a lot more than I thought it would. It's $329. That's not a bad spot.
We're getting there.
Well, given the knobs, being able to load up like a stored setting, with the Presonus, like we've got this mode, we've got this mode, and we've got this mode. 3 slots, I could save every mode I need to be in the mixer.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
the knobs actually do remember them. They're not just the knob, like it's stored, and wherever the light is on the knob, that's automated mixing.
Yep. It's like infinity spin where there's not a hard pin, ding.
Yeah, well, if I turn it, I want to adjust that light, but that light tells me where I'm at.
Yeah. And a lot of it also comes down to how granular you can get with your adjustments, where, when it comes to mixing, sometimes just a tiny change, like when you're mixing on the iPad, a tiny change can be like a difference between
Yeah, well, it depends. Are you turning the master, or are you turning a gain on a channel? Like,
and whichever it is, like, if you're trying to make a small adjustment, it's important to be able to make fine adjustments like that. So I'm sure it's fine for that, but yeah.
Yeah, the things that he wasn't nitpicking, lack of high Z definitely is going to bum out guitarists.
Yeah.
That's a function you would want as a guitarist on your mixer. Phantom power, no big surprise. If you're going to have XLRs, they phantom power is like air conditioning. It is a standard on good mixers for at least the first couple of channels.
Yeah. For a reason.
And they give you two here in like the size of a brick.
Yeah. Nice compact form factor. I like that too. And like I said, they used all that space.
Yeah, I do. I like companies who can find a way to do that. The only time I have caution there is, it's like building mini PCs. When you get too much stuff into too small of a space, the reliability, the heating problems sometimes, with audio, like they're too close together, bleed through. The condensed factor is something that I'd be concerned with.
To me, it's more seeing how, like, for example, with the Personas that we used from the fader one going to the rack mount one, it's still in each case like the spot where you're actually plugging in everything, all the XLRs, for example. It is just it's all tight together because they are trying to get as many connections in as they can, and they're only making the thing as big as they need to to cover how many inputs there are.
If it's sitting in a corner in a band room and doesn't get moved a lot, jostled, small form factor probably won't matter. But if you're dropping it in a laptop bag, bringing it on stage every night,
well, we talked about that when they were talking about the buttons.
3 years, small form factor will probably break down a little faster than.
And that's why we said it's important to have a good carrying case.
And
protect your equipment.
And he had a carrying case sponsor. And when it comes to custom cases, if you can find a good place that actually does make a case for your instrument, it's like getting a good mechanic or doctor. Like you go back for the next case.
Yeah. That's actually one thing where I have a lighting board that I use that has a bunch of faders on it. It looks like a soundboard, but if you don't take care of it, you will lose faders off of that thing. You will break buttons off of it. It's like you have to have it in something that protects it because you can't just have it sitting in the car or jostling around and all that.
Yes.
So I need to get a good case for it instead of just otherwise what people will do a lot of times is just keep it taking it in and out of the box with the styrofoam that it came with. So the box gets I see people do that with guitar pedals and things like that, and I'm like, you're so close. Like you're one step away.
The
Like,
box,
keeping it in the box
is not a case. It is just what it came in.
It's an example of something that is protecting it. So you can see something should be protecting like here and here, like the styrofoam chunks, right? So what kind of case you should be looking for.
If you're going to pay a lot for this muffler, you better get a good muffler protector.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely right. Got to have a good case. Now, sometimes you can build your own custom case, but it has to protect the buttons and the faders and all that good stuff.
I feel like they do a better job building them.
Yeah, for sure.
At Midlife Synthesist, I'm glad to add that to our. We are going to have a synthesist night, so I will be perusing his library.
Excellent. Good information.
Yeah, and if you got a mixer with like that kind of versatility, that mixer is USB like ready to go. It's an interface, just like an audio interface, but it has mixing capabilities. Very useful. Having an audio interface is great for getting that mic or that guitar into the computer, but having a mixer allows you to take that audio interface and this audio interface or this other signal and get multiple signals together, mixed, consolidated. And I think all serious musicians don't shouldn't just have an audio interface or a USB mixer. They should have both.
Yeah, I agree. So go get one.
If they do that, when it comes to what they do in their DAW in that ASO, you don't have to worry about routing that through what we talked about last week. You don't have to route that signal through digital patch bays because you can route that audio device's signal into your mixer, and your mixer consolidates all that ASO there and Wasapi here, multiple computers, different sound sources. Let the mixer do that work for you.
Exactly.
But you got to hook that audio interface up to it. And that's what this one's about.
Yes. So let's do that.
Something we were like going over the last couple of nights with a few waggers.
Yeah, exactly.
So at True Sound TV, True Sound Studios, and man, if that is the studio, it's a beauty.
Nice.
That's how I want my studio to look.
Very cool.
But my studio looks more like this.
Yep.
I do have some cool toys.
Yes, indeed, you do.
But I like this one because this Yamaha mixer, multiple people I'm trying to get this setup are dealing with this particular Yamaha mixer. So how he does it here, I'm going to relay that information to Luder.
Nice.
He needs to do this.
Yep. And like I said, that mixer looks exactly like the one I have. Just, that one's the slightly larger one. The one I had was just the 402. So it's got the 2 XLR inputs and then 2 other channels.
Yeah, and if you're missing the USB plug,
that's the problem is it's missing the USB plug. So this was just before that.
It's not an audio interface without the USB plug.
Right. Well, the thing is that I use it as that's what we're talking through right now, and when I play guitar and all that, so I use it as a mixer where I get the microphone in, I get the guitar in, I get the keyboard in, all 3 of those, and then just take the main outs into the line in on my computer.
An audio consolidator. And here's a left and right.
I even just here's the 1/8 inch. So.
Oh damn! For such a big guy, you use a tiny little plug.
Yeah. Well, I got the breakout cable going out from there too, so the breakout cable was going.
Yeah, but that 1/8 inch is it's a weak point.
It is, and that's where the interference gets in, if interference is going to get in. But in this case, I was using the 1/8 inch I was using at one point was, you remember the 1/8 inch to RCA jack that we used to get with those big Nokia 17-inch or 21-inch monitors, the massive, before it went to flat screens.
The adapter, the big ass adapter.
No, it was just a white cable, but it's a white cable that's an 1/8 inch stereo on one end and the red and white RCA jacks on the other end, and they used to send them with the monitors because the monitors would connect to the computer and all that. So it was one of those that
through the 90s and 2000s, that's how you plug speakers on computers.
And that was the thing, is we had just stacks of those cables all the time. So it was one, like, you'd throw them out all the time. So like I had a bunch of those at home sitting around, and it was like, just use that, and that's what was allowing interference in, because they're not shielded for much of anything.
They're noisy as hell.
Exactly. So that was the thing. Very cheap cable that had no shielding on it at all. Not the one to use. I replaced it with one that is a good 1/8 inch to RCA. And actually, this one is actually a breakout cable. So it's the double, taking the main out from the little mixer here, taking the main out 1/4 inch left and right. And it goes into an 1/8 inch stereo.
Oh, so many points of problematic when you get that many. I hate using adapters.
No adapters. This is just the cable itself is just 2 1/4 inch at this end and 1/8 inch at that end. No adapters going anywhere, and it's just going from the board into the computer. And that was the idea. Is this is skipping all the adapters that I would have had to use if I was going 1/4 inch to now try to get to 1/8 inch or try to do this to that. This is the cable designed for that, so it's designed to go. From
I'd rather use a cable bridge than an adapter bridge.
Correct. And I believe me, I've dealt with those adapter bridges enough, and even on with really good setup gear, I'll take a look and somebody's using a guitar cable that broke at one point, and they're using it as a mains cable. I'm like, how did it get back in there?
in a pinch, if you got a MacGyver, so it's good. I have every adapter I need.
In a pinch, but like you said, this is the home studio setup, and it's like, yeah, you don't leave that setup in a home studio setup.
No. My home, if I have to use an adapter like that, it's temporary until I get the proper, like this plug to that plug.
Yeah. And I'm the worst about that. I mean, my buddy, our joke is about a box fan, because at one point my computer was overheating and shutting itself down. My solution was to literally take the door off the side so that the PC is open, and I put a fan in front of it just blowing in, and it would never shut down at all. So like, and since that worked, it wasn't like, oh, that worked until I could get the replacement power supply. I was like, no, that worked. That was the answer, was open the door and put the fan in front of it. What are you talking about? What do you mean new parts?
My solution to cooling my computers was to move to Maine. It's like nothing gets hot up here.
You just put the computer out in the snow and it gets hot, right? Just like we used to do with the beer in the winter.
I don't even need to put it out. It's cold enough to my computers do, and I'm running overclocked like AMD Ryzen 9s, like my brother's experiments.
Nice.
They don't get hot down here.
Oh yeah, there's nothing quite like gaming leftovers, right?
Yay. I do feel a little heat, like in the winter. It's like, it's nice to be next to it, but at the same time, it's not overheating.
I'll have to show you a picture sometime I had from one of the offices I worked at. Somebody that we were working in the, like in the network support group, and she had under her desk a little heater that like looked on the front like it was like a furnace, essentially. Like it was like it was like glowing red hot, but it was just like a visual thing. But she had it like sitting right next to her computer, and I'm like, I hate heaters like being even on the same circuit as a computer, but it's on the same circuit as the computer and sitting like right next to it, where it's not blowing at it, but I get it.
Well, if it's just a light that makes you feel like you're getting warm,
no. This is a heater.
I'm okay with that. But if you're actually turning on a heater, that's an issue.
This is a small space heater that was just under her desk because it was always cold in the office. So it was just a small space heater under her desk, but it was just parked right next to her computer. And if her computer started having problems, it's like, number one, like, is the heater on? like that's a problem.
We don't want to cause a fire.
and that's the other part, is that really shouldn't be under an office desk. But yeah. Okay. So to the
no soup for you.
no soup for you. No soup for you with the heater under the desk.
But if we have to hook an audio device into a mixer under that desk, then that heater could cause problems, even just being a light.
Exactly.
So let's see how to plug this Yamaha in.
So today in this video, I'm going to show you guys how to hook your interface up to your mixer. True Sound Studios is in your ears. Hey guys, welcome back to True Sound Studios. I'm Wiesna, and today I'm going to show you guys how to hook your interface up to your mixer. Now we're going to be doing this in two different ways. We're going to be using the mixer that is going to send signal into the interface, and then that interface obviously then sends the audio to the computer. Or we can do it the other way, where the interface is then outputting signal to the mixer, and the mixer then can be hooked up to headphones or your studio monitors or some large playback systems, just to have the option of doing it both ways. Now before we get started, check the description box down below for links to these interfaces, the mixer, the connection cables, as well as I mix and master full-time here at my studio, and all my rates are in there. Okay, so let's get into this video and let me show you guys how to hook this stuff up. Okay, so this is going to be setup number one. This is a really great setup when you want to run audio out of your audio interface into a mixer to be able to control different levels of different studio monitors, as well as the output volume for a particular pair of headphones. This is also a really great setup when you want to be able to use this live with backing tracks, where you send signal from your DAW, it goes into the audio interface, then it comes to the mixer so you can send a separate level or a separate signal to maybe the drummer, and then a separate signal to the PA system.
Okay, so to get started, we need to attach cables from the audio interface to a stereo channel on our mixer. Now, if you don't have a stereo channel on your mixer, you need to have 2 mono channels. For example, on my mixer, channels 1 and 2 are mono, and then channels 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 10 are all stereo. And you can see that by, you can see here it says 3 left, 4 right, meaning this entire channel can be controlled and be used as a stereo channel. So there's just 1 EQ point for each and 1 level for each channel. If you were to use the 2 mono channels, you just need to pan channel 1 to the left, channel 2 to the right, and then this would be your overall volume control for the left channel, and this would be your overall volume for the right channel. Okay, so now we're going to take 2 cables, and these are balanced 1/4-inch cables, also known as a TRS cable. So the one cable is TRS to TRS, and this is how we're going to connect these. So we're going to take our first cable, and we're going to connect it from the audio output left on our interface to, let's say, we'll pick this channel right here. This is channel 7 and 8. 7 is left, 8 is right. So since we're coming out of the audio interface on the left, we're going to go into the input here on channel 7. And then we're going to come from the audio interface right output to the right input on our mixer. So from here we can EQ this whole channel. We can add some highs if we want, take a little mids, add some low end in here, and then now this white fader now becomes our volume fader for this channel, which is obviously being fed from the audio interface. Now, what's great about this is maybe we want to send a separate audio level from the stereo outputs and separately to the control outputs or the headphone output. If we want to hook our headphones up to here, this knob down here will control the output for this particular headphone. And then if we connect our, let's say our studio monitors to here, this is going to be our volume control for that. So we have our headphones. We can connect our headphone jack to an adapter so we can plug it into the headphones. And now signal will come through these yellow cables into here, and it'll feed signal to the master section where now we can control up the CR, which is control room, or the headphone level. So now we can just turn this up, and now signal will come out of here and be heard inside the headphones. And now we'll use these blue cables to represent the connection to our studio monitors. I don't have any studio monitors that'll fit up here, but so now we can take our one cable connected from the stereo output, which once again is being controlled by this knob. And let's say we'll use the left. We'll plug this into here. And then this will be plugged into our left studio monitor. And then we'll use another cable to plug into the right stereo output, and this will be plugged into our right studio monitor. So now if we turn up the control knob here on the mixer, we'll feed signal to our studio monitors. So now you can have a different amount of level going to the studio monitors, separate from the amount of level going to the headphones. So another thing we can use this for is for a live situation. So we can have our signal coming into this channel, and then maybe we can send signal to the headphones that the drummer is going to be wearing. So now we can really crank the signal so the drummer can hear the backing tracks. And then we can send signal to the PA system using the stereo output. And now we can actually alter the amount of signal that the PA system will be getting. Okay, in setup number 2, now we're going to use the mixer to actually feed signal into the audio interface, so then we can use this to record. So we could plug in, let's say, a microphone into the mixer. It'll send signal through the channel. It'll come out one of our stereo outputs. It will go into the audio interface and then be recorded inside the DAW. So once again, we're going to be using these same 1/4-inch TRS to TRS cables. So what we're going to do is take our stereo output left. We're going to connect one cable to it. And then this cable is then going to be plugged into line input 1 or line input left. Then we're going to take our second cable and plug it into stereo output right. And then plug this cable into line input 2 or line input right. So then we can take, for example, a microphone. Okay, this is going to have a yellow cable on it. So we can plug our mic into channel number 1 and put the microphone right here. And now we can have signal coming into the microphone, which then connects to this channel. We can turn up the gain and have a good amount of signal come into here. Maybe we can EQ it a little bit, send the overall level, which then comes over to the output section of our mixer. Then from here, we're going to turn up the stereo output. And then the signal then comes out of the stereo outputs, comes over to our interface, comes into the line inputs on the interface, and then runs out through the USB cable to the DAW. This is also a great setup for podcasts where you have multiple microphones plugged into multiple channels that then can be sent to your audio interface and recorded inside of your DAW. So you can have multiple people talking and record this entire conversation. You can have a live performance. This is another great way to capture a live performance with multiple signals, multiple microphones. The only negative part about this is that all of these microphones, for example, all 3 of these microphones are going to be recorded and into a stereo channel inside your DAW, and unfortunately they won't be separated. So you won't have channel 1, 2, and 3 separated in your DAW as channel 1, 2, and 3. If you do want to record 2 microphones at a time and have separate control over both microphones after it gets into your DAW, what you can do is have channel 1 be panned all the way to the left and have channel 2 pan all the way to the right. So then this microphone would be left, this microphone would be right. So you can record it as a stereo channel in your DAW, and then in the DAW you would have a separate recording just of this microphone and a separate recording of just this microphone, but only if you pan these channels totally separate. Because what you're really doing is taking the left channel and recording it as channel 1, and you're taking the right channel and recording it as channel 2. Now, there is a situation where you don't have a line input on your audio interface. For example, this Persona's audio box USB only has a mic and an instrument input. So we're actually going to be using the instrument input, but we have to use a different cable. This is a TS 1/4-inch cable, also known as an unbalanced cable. And we're going to use this type of cable connect to our interface. And then the other end of the cable also has a TS to TS unbalanced connection where we plug into our mixer. So to be clear, if your interface doesn't have a line input on it, it only has a microphone or an instrument connection, this is what you're going to have to do. I find that maybe half the interfaces have line inputs and the others don't, especially when it gets to these like budget friendly interfaces anywhere from $150 and under. My Persona's audio box USB does not have line input connections. I have an iRig Pro Duo that doesn't have line input connections, but that tone port from line 6, that one does. And then I also have another one from Lexicon that has line inputs on it. So it just kind of really depends. So if you only have these instrument 1/4-inch connections, you're going to be using an unbalanced, so it's known as a TS to TS or a 1/4-inch unbalanced connection. Now I know this isn't like the most ideal situation because now you're using an instrument input instead of a line input, but I promise you it really does sound really good. In fact, all the audio that I'm using to record this entire video is using this unbalanced instrument connection to record the audio. So it really does work really well. Once again, this is not the perfect situation, but it is a way around it. So guys, thanks for watching this video. Now I have a lot of other videos showing how to hook things up. One of my most popular one is how to connect a compressor to a mixer in a couple different ways, depending on what kind of mixer you have and what kind of connections you have. I will link those videos down in the description. They'll also be at the very end of this video. And if you guys are recording at home and just looking for a really professional mix and master, please go ahead, send me an email. I'd love to work with you guys. It doesn't matter what skill level you're at. There's always a way to take your production, your song, just to the next level and really make it sound professional. So as always, guys, thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to find True Sound Studios on Instagram. I post there every single day. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. So thank you for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, click that like button and consider subscribing for more content. So not only do I make YouTube videos, but I also produce tracks and I can mix and master your music. So once again, thank you for watching this video. I'm Wiesna and True Sound Studios is in your ears.
Oh, and it's going to stay in my ears.
Absolutely.
My ears are good like that.
No, very good, very good breakdown of how that goes. And my buddy Mike definitely approves of the color coding of the cables.
Yeah. Oh,
always good to color code the cables so you can track what's going on.
Well, certain cables serve certain purposes. Colored for like drums versus colored for guitar is useful.
Yes, absolutely. And it doesn't, it's not like, oh, you plugged it in with the wrong, as long as they're different, as long as when I track a cable down, I can visually look over and be like, okay, I can see the yellow cables going to the guitar. I can see the blue cables going over to the drums. That's what makes sense to me, whatever it is.
And the signal routing, I like that he actually showed both options there.
Right.
Audio interface to mixer or mixer to audio interface. Both are useful.
Yes.
For different scenarios. And I could actually see myself switching. Sometimes I do on that music machine, depending on whether I want the Mackie to be the master or the Roland. And rarely do I go to the Roland. That's the audio interface in my scenario. The Mackie is the consolidator. The Roland goes into the Mackie, so I don't usually need to just go to the audio interface. I use the audio interface as one part of the mixing sound.
And I do very much like the way they were using the headphones, the control room, and the main outs as three separate things. So you can take the one signal and send it three separate places at three separate volumes, which is cool.
Monitoring is everything. After you've got everything actually going in, monitoring and what am I hearing here? What am I hearing there? And being able to send in these mixers that have a channel 3 and 4, musicians are going to want to start using that to get additional signal from the same device. If it has a channel 3 and 4, you have a whole separate line out.
Yep, exactly. And that's where the Tech 21 SansAmp, the DI box that I have for my bass, it actually has, the regular output that you normally send 1/4-inch output instrument cable, and it has a bypass or a secondary output so that you can send it like to an amp by you and an amp over there,
or an effects chain in some cases. Like
Exactly.
I wanna run this through an effects chain and bring it back in.
Yep, exactly. Or you just take it, through the effects chain and continue on from there.
Yeah, we got some cool options nowadays.
Exactly. And something like this can, again, since you could use it this way or that way, it can help solve multiple problems, and as well as just being part of the regular setup that you have. If it's like it's part of the regular setup and then you have an upgrade to something else, everybody usually keeps the old stuff anyway. So you've got a stack of, the old one and the old one before that, the old one before that.
I wouldn't kick an old piece of equipment out of bed. I might move it. I might move it to a corner of the bed, but
or under the bed.
When it goes under the bed, it's usually tucked away.
That only comes out if you really need something. Oh wait, I know how we can fix this. It's like the last ditch effort.
Well, everything else broke, and this is all I have left.
So be careful.
So
No
that was at True Sound TV. Love hearing studio advice from a nice studio there.
Oh yeah, very cool. Good toys.
And when you are working in a nice studio and you are a professional sound engineer, your approach, your mentality changes with that level of it's one thing mixing for yourself in the bedroom, it's another thing mixing for clients in the studio.
Absolutely. Best thing I would say, or the biggest thing I would say, is having a thick skin when it comes to sharing of ideas. Like, they may have different vision than what you come up with, and it's important to be able to have those conversations candidly.
Well, and I think the studios, they know their job. So like, they're probably catering to the producer or the record company because they're the bosses. They're the ones signing the checks.
Yeah, the one signing the checks is always important.
They try to cater to the artist, but it really depends on whether that like producer says, don't listen to those blokes. They don't know what they're talking about. Just record them.
Just hit the button.
Yeah. Sometimes as an engineer, you're in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
So at Offshore Audio, this one caught my eye because with the whole mixing mentality and how you evolve as a engineer, he talks about some of that.
Right.
I've been mixing live shows for about 10 years. It's my only job, so I guess that makes me a professional. Now, I've seen and done a lot of wacky stuff in my time. I've made a lot of mistakes and I've tried a lot of different techniques. And there's a lot of things that I just don't do anymore. Some of them I really recommend against, and some of them are just personal taste and I don't like doing them. So here are 10 things that I never do as a live sound engineer. Or I should say that I never do them anymore, because these are all things that I have done and I've stopped doing them for one reason or another. Maybe I'll start again, but who knows. Let's dive in. The first thing that I don't do anymore is ring out the PA with an SM58. So back when I started mixing, I was mixing in little basement venues and I used to go in and, well, in the first place, I never even rung out the PA because I didn't know what that was. But then once I learned that I should be ringing out the PA, the way I learned to do it was that you grab a 58 and you turn it up, it starts feeding back, and then you turn around to your graphic EQ, which is, analog hardware EQ over here, and then you notch out the frequencies that are feeding back. And then you just do that and you push it a bit and you notch out more frequencies until you got that SM58 nice and loud in your venue. And then once it's nice and loud, you just do the show. And you don't really give a thought to the rest of the frequency spectrum and how you've butchered it, right? But the thing is that I don't do that anymore because I don't necessarily need to, but at that point in time, I think I did need to. Because when you're in a tiny little basement venue, the main problem that you come up against is getting the vocal above the band. And actually, this kind of aggressive EQ can get the vocal above the band. So I never do it anymore, but that's because I work on bigger stages and there's more PA sound and less band sound. And I need to make sure that that PA is reproducing the full frequency spectrum so that tracks, bass, drums, and everything sounds rich and clear coming out of the PA. In a basement venue, the backline creates like 80% of the sound, and the PA is really mostly for the vocals. So that's why I did it. That's why I don't do it anymore. The second thing that I don't do anymore is plug a mini jack to XLR cable directly into the mixer without using a DI box. I'll tell you why. Because I used to do that to play tracks and test PA systems. And then one day, someone thought it would be a good idea to enable the phantom power on input 1 and 2 on the mixer. I plugged it in and goodbye telephone, right? That was my phone, gone. It was like an HTC 10 or HTC 1. I can't remember what it was called years ago. But didn't work anymore. The battery lasted about 20 minutes and it overheated every time I turned it on. So don't do that. Always use a DI box. And this is something I would never go back to doing. Always use a mini jack to 2 jack cables if you can. And if you need to use XLR, go through a DI box. The third thing that I never do anymore is parallel compression. Back in the day when I started mixing, I used to always have a parallel group for my drums, and I would compress the hell out of it and mix that in with the rest of the drum kit. And I think I just heard that it was cool. And over time, I kind of learned that less is more, and I just stopped using parallel compression on just about anything. Now, this is something I'd say that if you like it and it works for you, then go ahead. But it's just a matter of personal taste. I never do that anymore. So if you think that you need to, you don't need to. I'm a professional, apparently, and I never do it. If you're already working as a live sound engineer, but you think that you could level up, you'd like to do bigger shows and you'd like to fill your calendar more, then you should check out my Live Sound Career Accelerator. I'm launching it this summer. So if you check the link in the description below this video, you can fill out the application form. And if you're a good fit, then I'll get in touch with you and we can have a chat about you joining the program. The sole aim of this program is to fill your calendar with live sound work. So I'll take you from where you are now to a full full calendar in 6 months. Fill out the application form below and we'll talk then. The number 4 thing that I never do anymore is I never assume that the people at the venue are the band that are supposed to be playing that night. I always double check with them. Hi, are you X band? And you're supposed to be playing in this venue tonight. Because one time, years ago, I had a band come in and we started loading everything up, put a drum kit on the stage, started getting everything mic'd up, and then their manager came down like 25 minutes later after we'd got everything in place pretty much and just said, "This isn't the right venue." We had a laugh and it turned out they were supposed to be in the venue next door. Who'd have thought? So that was a waste of time. Had to go next door, collect the correct band, had to deliver that band to the correct venue, and lost like an hour of setup and sound check time. So when someone walks into your venue, always confirm that they are who you think they are and that they are playing in your venue tonight. Number 5 thing that I never do anymore is I never EQ with my eyes. I'm kind of lucky enough that I started live sound on analog mixers when EQing with your eyes isn't really an option. You mostly do it by touch. But I have to admit that when I started using digital mixers like the M32, I look a lot at that graph and look at like a cut that looks nice. It doesn't make a difference, right? Like the cut might look absolutely huge and gargantuan, but if it's actually only 6 decibels, then what does it matter? What matters is what you hear. So don't EQ with your eyes, EQ with your ears. The number 6 thing that I never do anymore is I never start a show on someone else's scene or save file because you have no idea what kind of crazy stuff they're doing in there. Quite recently, like a couple of years ago, I filled in for a colleague on a sort of multi-day venue festival sort of thing, right? And so that meant that he had done day 1 and day 2, and I was coming in to do day 3. And he said, mixer is all set up, everything's plugged in, mics are on the stage, drum kit's on the stage, everything's ready to go. There's no time for sound checks, you just gotta roll with it. So I did, right? Great engineer, by the way, fantastic. But all sorts of crazy stuff going on, sends, channels inserted into choruses being returned on input channels and being routed to separate buses. Insane stuff going on. I swear it took me 20 minutes to even just work out where the sound was going. I'd mute things, they wouldn't be muted. I'd be in the effects going, why is there a chorus on my vocal? I don't want there to be a chorus on my vocal. So don't do it. Now, whenever I rock up to a mixer, it doesn't matter. I have my own little file, which is my festival patch, and I always load that up and go, no matter what. The number 7 thing that I never do is I never use plugins on a laptop when I'm mixing. I have played around with using plugins live, right? But it complicates my workflow and I feel like I don't need it. I always feel like I get a result that I'm happy with, the band's happy with, the audience is happy with, and the promoter is happy with without using plugins. And if I can provide that result without using plugins, then it would just be my ego wanting to complicate things to add plugins. So maybe I will add them at some point down the line, but right now I just don't see why I would do that because everything's working and everyone's happy. So I never use plugins. Number 8 for things that I never do is I never actually use groups when I'm mixing. A lot of people are like, whoa, this is crazy, you got to use groups, right? And do you know what? I don't, right? Like, as I mentioned in the beginning, I used to use groups. I used to have a vocal group and I used to have a drum group. And I don't really know what I gained from that. As I said in the previous point, like my mixes, I'm happy with them and everyone else who's a stakeholder in the show is happy with them and I don't use groups. So why overcomplicate things? Like it works for me, so I don't do it. Now, I'm not saying I won't ever do it. Maybe there will come a time when I think, I want to play with parallel compression or groups again. And I will. But at the moment, I never use groups. The number 9, this is getting complicated. 9 thing that I never do anymore is I never scan wireless frequencies just using the belt pack or whatever that's there. I always coordinate using a scan on Wireless Workbench or something like that because I need to see what is happening in the sort of wireless frequencies, the wireless, the radio spectrum, right? I need to see what's happening there. I need to know, even if Shure says, yeah, this frequency is good, I want to know just how close I am to that TV channel or to that other transmitter. And although Shure might pick a frequency that's available, if I can get another 10 megahertz away from the next opposing frequency, I'm probably going to do that. So I never do it just in the belt pack anymore. I always use Wireless Workbench, and I would advise you to, if you can. Number 10 for things I never do anymore is I never start a sound check before checking my output routing. I always check that left goes to left and right goes to right. I always check that all of the speakers are playing, and I always check that all of the monitors go to the correct person. Because if you start a sound check and someone says, more vocal please, you turn up the vocal, half the time they just go, yeah, I think that's okay. And actually they didn't get any. The guitarist over there in the corner are getting tons and tons of vocal, it's just saying nothing. And then the singers over there are getting no vocal and they're saying,
yeah, I think that's good, right?
Placebo is a hell of a drug, so I always double check just to make sure that everyone has the correct monitor mix. And a bonus thing that I never do anymore is I never trust anything, right? And surely you got the impression from all of this, right? Everything just needs to be confirmed multiple times. You just need to be like, is this what's happening? Is that what you're bringing? Is that how you want it connected? Are you actually hearing this? Never trust that anything is just set. Never trust that someone else has done it for you. Always double check. So I hope that was useful. Remember, if you want to be a professional live sound engineer, you want to build a career in live sound, and you have already started and you've got a little bit of experience behind you, you should apply for the Live Sound Career Accelerator. Click the link in the description down below and fill out the application form. If you're a good fit, I'll be in touch and we will fill your calendar with paid work. I'll leave a video up here on something else that I ranted about, which is kind of interesting, the highs and lows of being a sound engineer. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video, or however I usually end these videos. Goodbye.
But only for now.
Only for now.
The boy understands his live sound.
Yes.
Tell me you did not relate to certain parts there. Like you're dealing with a new band tomorrow, right?
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah,
Dealing with a band that we haven't worked with before, but I do know that it's an easier setup than usual. I think it's just a 2-piece and no big deal. But sometimes it'll be a new band we haven't worked with, and it's an 8-piece or a 10-piece, and it's got a horn section as well as this and that, and so it's a whole big thing.
And you guys do have like initial templates, like he mentioned, like I start this way. He eventually became minimalistic. Like
that's
I
the thing
stopped
you grow
doing
into.
parallel compression and all this extra shit that didn't really like help or hurt. It's just additional work.
One of the sound guys that we work with, who's a newer sound guy, hasn't been doing it as long, isn't as experienced. He's working with the X32 board, and he's mixing from his pad, and he saves the scene from every band and every venue. So like he's filled it up with like 60, 80, 100 presets. But even if you have the same band in the same venue and you go back to that preset, things were probably different that day. So it might be a safe place to start, but what my buddy Mike has found from so many gigs that we do,
you
like,
have
you just
scenarios. You have scenarios.
It's almost better to start from a band with the same or similar lineup. Like we have multiple bands that have like that, like horn section lineup, right? And we have multiple bands that are just a 4-piece or a 5-piece. And we have multiple bands that are just small groups. So it's a question of, what's a close fit to what this band is, and we can start from there. And same thing, like starting with like nothing and every channel at 0, it's good to start there and build it up from there rather than say, okay, here's the preset from last time and let's just go, because so many things can be different. You might have to undo more things to get it to sound good than just starting from nothing and making things sound good individually like every time.
And when he mentioned grouping, if you do have a good board like that Personas, grouping is useful. Like here's the drums, here's the guitars, here's vocals. Grouping has a purpose, but in his minimalistic approach as he was evolving, it's like grouping can get complicated unless you have structure to be able to build the group.
Right. And that's the thing, is I think the way that Mike usually has things set up is he does have vocal groups and he does have drum groups, but he doesn't necessarily use them for a lot of things. I think part of the idea is that you can use as mute groups so that you can just, bands going on a break, you can hit the vocal mute group and it just mutes all the vocal mics so that they're
he has enough channel options that I'm assuming if there's a brass section, there's certain channels that are dedicated to those kinds of situations.
Well, that's the thing, is we're using a 24 rack mount and a 16 rack mount connected. So it's like 40 input channels that we could take. And the thing is that we can also send out so many, because when we talked about the routing for the monitoring, it's not just giving everybody the same feed. Like the way he was doing it with the mixer in that scenario there, that's sending everybody the same mix. We're taking whatever was getting recorded into the mixer is all coming through and going all to the same place. What we need to do is, like you're saying with the horn bands, the horn section needs to hear the horns, but the people in the other parts of the band, like the guitar player, needs to hear the bass and probably hears enough of the drums just from being nearby, but it also needs to hear the vocals for the timing and everything else. Anybody who's going to be singing needs to hear all the vocals, probably needs to hear the rhythm guitar. So everyone's going to have different things that they need sent to their monitor. So we'll send 5, 6 different monitor mixes to each monitor. So the guitar player gets his own mix. And that's why it's even more important when he was talking about somebody asks for something and then immediately right after, they're like, yeah, that sounds better. And you didn't change anything. That happens all the time. And
The placebo effect.
It's the placebo effect. So that's where
I look like I turned the knob.
And that's the thing is, like, a lot of times, like what I'm doing, Mike is busy mixing. So Mike's usually sitting there, looking at the iPad and doing all the changes. If the band needs something, they're looking around for the sound guy, right? So if I'm sitting next to Mike, like I'll be the one watching the band. And I'll see, the guitar player's looking around, and I can see him looking. I can see what his signal he wants. Like he wants more, he wants vocal and he wants more in his monitor. And he could like just little hand signals, and they can tell me something. I can tell him, and then as I tell him, they start they keep playing for a few seconds, and all of a sudden you see him go like, oh yeah, and they look over at us and they give you that nod, and it's like, okay, good. So
the reassuring, I'm happy.
Or what it'll happen just on its own also, where they're if they just start into a solo, for example, a guitar player, Mike just knows, like he hears that the guitar is going into a solo, and he'll feed it a little bit more into his monitor, so that he also in the room, but by feeding it a little more into his monitor, he's hearing it louder, so that he's or she whoever is getting that buildup from the actual solo, getting that big boost from the amp. They like that when you get that.
I
extra
want to
boost.
hear it in all its glory.
Now the wireless one, that was an interesting one. The wireless spectrum scanner, definitely a good idea, because we do have issues with the wireless setups. Like we usually keep the wireless, for the wireless mics on the subwoofers in the front corners, so that they're line of sight where people can see them. But there's sometimes so much interference just from so many different wireless devices in the room. Could be a lot of different things.
The big problem nowadays is that there's so many different wireless technologies all going after the same space. And, like RF can keep like this band away from that band. But when you mix Wi-Fi or Bluetooth in the near vicinity, it's not RF causing the problem with the other channels, it's other Wi-Fi.
Yeah. One thing I saw also was one of the small, like just a DJ had a small Bluetooth speaker, that just like had it to play a track or something for a venue or for an event.
Yeah.
And
Is
so
it
many
providing a useful function? Otherwise, turn it off.
Well, in this case, he was like trying to present something, or trying to have like a part of the show, let's say, whatever it was, demonstration, could be a karate demonstration or a dog show, whatever it is. They had some kind of event going on, and they had the speaker out there, and so many people were filming with their cameras all in that vicinity that you get that the sound, the way it sounds when there's too much interference around there, and it's just cutting in and out. And it was all, it's just very obvious what the problem is, because so many people are all just crowded around with their phones.
Well, having that kind of spectrum analyzer he was talking about, like, hey, we're doing a live show. We got all this wireless gear. We want to make sure it's not being interfered with. Planes aren't coming down.
Wireless workbench, I believe it was called. So that I'm going to have to talk with Mike about, because that is a very good call on their part. Another quick one was, he was talking about getting the right band in the right venue. Yeah, well, we did start setting up on the wrong stage one time, because we did have a venue at a place. There's a stage there. We pull up, start setting up the gear, and then all of a sudden, like a big moving truck pulls up with like the real gear, because this particular stage had like
how much did you set up? Were you
we had
like
broken
halfway?
We had broken out half of the equipment from his car, because it was basically from the car, and the stage is right there, so it's like from the car onto the stage. So like we got about half the car emptied when we realized, and then it was like, oh, okay. And then our stage was like, oh, over there. So it was like, put it all back in the car and just go drive quarter mile over that way, and then start setting up over there. But
I'm going to need another cup of coffee, Mike.
Get me two, Utah. Get me two.
Make it a double.
For sure.
So at Offshore Audio, I like the live sound talk there.
Yeah,
Like, you know, we've had a couple of nights where we talked about hitting the stage, and you get to do that like every week. So I know there's a lot more discussion there.
Absolutely. Yep, we have a gig tomorrow. We have a gig Saturday. It kind of slows down from here towards the end of the year, where it's mostly just Friday, Saturday. But for a while there, it was as much as five gigs in 7 days sometimes. Good stuff.
5 gigs in 7 days.
It's like a work week, man. Oh my God.
I still got enough fingers to do it.
Yeah. It's good stuff though. It's always fun. And again, the main thing is that the band has a good time. So many of the bands, they come to us at the end and like they go out of their way to tell us how it enhanced the experience for them, or how working with us was a pleasure, this and that. Just because it's not that there's a lot of bad sound guys out there, it's just there's a lot of people out there who are trying to do sound that don't have the experience yet. And with us, it's just that we've done so many gigs over so many years that it all comes into, like you said, the workflow and the process. People who we've worked with, like the first time we work with one of those horn bands, and they look at the way we're putting cables out, and they're like, I know these guys are pros just looking at the way they set that up. And they're just like, they're looking at little things like that, just, as an off comment, because it's like, they can see that we know what we're doing because we're making it so that the workflow is good. The flow of getting on and off the stage is good. We're making sure everybody's got the monitors in place.
For a band that's like doing a show, having good sound guys is like you going on vacation and the hotel, like everybody just hooks you up, and it's like, wow, all I had to do is come and enjoy this vacation and play.
Exactly. We get that also. Like, people will show up to the gig and they're like, oh, it's you guys today. Awesome. I know it's going to be a good gig. And then they just relax and they just do their thing, and they don't have to worry about it because they know it's all going to be fine.
Yeah, you're the secret sonic soldier in the battle.
Yeah. And I double as security, so it works out well.
You look enforceable. Like, I wouldn't fuck with you if you said you can't come in. I'm not going to try to sneak around you.
I just hang out by the gear to make sure that the gear hangs out where it's supposed to. And sometimes it's just even people are just dancing and they're getting too drunk and they're going to knock into things. So sometimes it's just me physically being in the way of, like, somebody's not going to knock over our board because I'm there to block it.
It's a $4,000 board. We need $1 million man in front of it.
And he runs on beer, so it all works out well.
You're a cheap date.
Beer and coffee depends on the time of day, right?
Coffee's getting expensive. Beer is equal.
That's right. But hey, I know that was our last video for today, so it's a good one for Thursday. Got a lot of topics covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, fun peek into potential, like, stocking stuffers. Hook me up with a MIDI guitar.
And you reminded me with that little, the guitar with the little nylon strings reminded me of one that I had. Again, it was much smaller. It was almost like ukulele size, but it's basically, this is the the evolution of what that was trying to be, but this is much closer to where it should be.
I would like to see you triggering synth sounds.
I mean, we did it with that one at one point. It was kind of cool.
Especially on the bass side. Like, you should have a MIDI bass, man.
Something I could think about, that for sure. I mean, there's a number of things that are not necessarily on the the Christmas list, let's say, but there's things that I've thought about that could enhance what I'm trying to do.
Well,
for the most part, they're easy.
We can do that on the plug-in side.
Right.
Man, it'd be awesome if you, like, a Chapman stick, MIDI driven. I would donate to that cause if I could.
Nice. That would be sick. It's a good project. We'll think about it.
Yes, we'll cook some up.
So what do we got happening tomorrow?
We're going through the WAG at this point. I can't disclose too much.
Don't say any more than that. It'll all be tomorrow.
Yes, you got to tune in to find out.
Exciting details. Tune in here, because that's where you'll find it. Friday.
Thank you. That's the take I was looking for.
All right. Join us then. Take care. Talkin Shhh I.T. Good night.
We cover digital audio. innovations and music tools. We explore theory, gear at 82. How to arrange, compose, and the art of arranging. Taking a look at AI and how the times have changed. On a PC or a Mac and even with a mobile device, we'll be talking about it all every Thursday night. From software to plugins and synths that entice. Dive deep into tech and let creativity take flight. Talkin IT. We're talking IT. Come and join in and have some fun. It's highly educational with a lot to learn. From bedroom producers to seasoned pros, we're breaking it down so knowledge grows. Whether you're a DJ or a beat making wizard, we got the tips and tricks to make your sound sizzle. Mixing and mastering, that's our jam. With the tutorials and tips on how much rap. Get the best quality from your setup and gear. Tune in every week and lend us your ear. We're talking IT. Come and join in and have some fun. It's highly educational with a lot to learn.